Oh, you're just recording the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm recording the whole thing. We just started. Welcome to the Christy Mayer podcast. We are on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you're listening right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. I will read the best reviews every week, so long as they are 5 stars. It can be sexy, it can be creepy, it could be weird. Just as long as it's 5 stars, I'm going to read it. So please go there and leave me a review. And thank you to the people who've already left such fabulous reviews. I'm very touched and moved by all of you. I'm very excited to have this guy on the podcast today. He is the producer and president of No Restrictions Entertainment. He's an independent film producer. He worked on Remember the Titans. I'm quickly reading through this bio. I mean, he's a big deal. I think he's probably the biggest deal Hollywood producer type dude I think I've ever had. I mean, of the 50 or so episodes. He and his team recently released their 6th project in 10 years, which was called A Child's Voice, which is a supernatural thriller about a runaway teen who answers a child calling out for help and is sent on a journey to find a human trafficking network run by the child's killer. All 6 films tell bold, authentic, real-life stories of survival in the face of uncertainty with a hope and love for a better world. He's the real deal. John Paul Rice, how are you?
Hey, it's great to be with you. How are you?
I am super. I'm sweating a ton, and if I turn the air conditioner on, it's gonna sound like there's an evil monster behind me. But speaking of evil monsters, it's interesting because John, you follow a lot of the conspiracy theory stuff, or as I like to call it, just truthing, just
Yes.
finding out truth, because
Yeah.
it seems the things that were kind of nobody was talking about a couple of years ago are just sort of part of the normal everyday conversation now. And it's what I find interesting is to watch and see what has been happening with Ellen, because I've heard other conspiracy theory people say, all throughout this quarantine, look at the pictures of her. She's in adrenochrome withdrawal. She's got the black eye or whatever, or her she looks terrible. And I'm like, who knows? That could just be her without her professional makeup crew, And then people are going, look at her ankle. She's wearing an ankle bracelet. She's on house arrest. Her and Oprah are on house arrest. And now we see, and I had thought for a while, okay, I feel like they're going to take her show off the air. It's hard to know how deep to get in with this with you, but now we see coming out, actually there were producers on her show that are being basically charged with not only sexual harassment, but they have orgies and stuff at their, office holiday parties and such. And I just wanted to know, what was your take on that, John? Are you following the Ellen stuff at all?
Yeah. So I've kind of watched and sat back during this whole coronavirus thing. I was looking, and I talked with a lot of different friends of mine in Hollywood with what was going on. I wouldn't call them insiders but they are in the trenches with some of the bigger executives, and people have been talking. And a lot of people during this time, just to tell your audience, there's a lot of people in Hollywood who have been red-pilled and waking up during this whole thing.
Yeah, I've noticed Jenna Jameson. In what world would me and Jenna Jameson be chatting over Twitter? But it's this world.
Oh yeah.
She is super red-pilled. I think perhaps Ice Cube was hip to it. I really got the most excited about Jenna Jameson, and a lot of my other porn star friends, like Karma RX, we've been sort of chatting about it. Who have you seen?
Well, I can't name who they are because they're my friends, and they're still working. Right. They're still working in there, and they have reputations. They can't get outed. It's too dangerous. But right now in Hollywood, nobody can talk about Trump. Nobody can talk about Epstein. Nobody can talk about Maxwell at all unless you want to get blacklisted.
Right, because the court documents just came out, unsealed court documents. This was last week.
And there's radio silence out there. I mean, that day that Maxwell's court documents come out and you go to MSNBC or CNN.com or any one of the others, there's not an article mentioning any of that.
Isn't that crazy? And it's
And this
like, it
implicates, I
should
mean,
be.
this isn't like the general, oh, there was sex trafficking and no, there is documented evidence, names named, Bill Richardson, Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, former
Marvin
head of
Minsky, I
MIT's
think.
AI
Yeah.
division, which a lot of people should look into that. Um, and, and, and it's like we're living in two realities right now. I mean, conspiracy is now becoming truth, and it's sort of like this. It's not that, when you talk about conspiracy, because everybody has a take on something, but it's like, what are the facts? Okay, going to Ellen, we have coronavirus, and I'm sitting here and watching all of the celebrities on, Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot, posting this, that, and the other. And David Spade's asking, where is Tom Hanks? We need to find Tom Hanks because Tom Hanks is the key. Like, if Tom Hanks makes it, we're going to be
Yeah.
okay. And
This
it's
is
like,
what, March, April? This was
right.
early
This is
on,
March and
right?
April. So I want to kind of show everybody like the progression, just in the general sense. You can go into all the details in the day to day, but what I was watching, I was going, okay, you have responses from Madonna to Ellen to all these different A-lister celebrities, and it doesn't meet the moment. You know what I mean? Their behavior.
They were incredibly, not like everyone, even if you don't believe in anything conspiracy, even if you're just like mainstream media all the way every day, you can at least go, okay, this is very weird for Madonna, who's usually not at all on social media. Like she's still touring and out there for her age, whatever. She's never going away. We get it. But like making these weird videos of her in her bathtub, her sitting at her typewriter. This is like in March, like right when the Rona was still fresh. And like, we're all one, Corona,
like cryptic stuff.
Very cryptic, very weird. And it's like in this weird, like beat poetry, like haunting sort of video style. I mean, I did a couple parodies on it. I'm not going to brag, but you probably should check them out on my YouTube channel. They're very funny because she took down her bathtub video, but my bathtub parody remains. And then I also, the one with her at the typewriter, like day 10, like really making it sound like very much the end of the world when she's got like 5-6 properties. She's doing good. She's living pretty.
Right.
She's not going to be struggling anytime soon. So what would explain these weird moves on social media? And then we were seeing a lot of erratic behavior from our celebrities, and it's like they kind of were talking in code.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can take it, they were talking in code. I kind of look at it this way, as like, okay, this was like so self-indulgent when supposedly all of this going down is like suffering and affecting people and possible mass death. And they're making it about them, right? However, see, this is the part, because people like you and I who've kind of, we don't buy into the brand, whether about the Luciferianism and the child sex trafficking and the pedophilia that's going on in Hollywood. Has been going on for decades, but it's been at an all-time like major high these last 10, 20 years. If you didn't know that, what you would be looking at is you're seeing them messaging to their fans. And so this despair and this moody, like this stuff that we're going, what the hell are they doing? Their fans are eating it up. So it's a ritual, and it's low vibrational energy of despair and anger.
Hopelessness.
Hopelessness. Yeah. And because of the programming that's done through television, social media, I mean, the whole trajectory, I'm talking about over decades to lead everybody up to this moment. We have a culture, a cult of personality, which is our identification in those people on TV. And so whatever they tell us, we start to imitate and reflect them. Now, not everybody, but a lot of people do. So their fans, I mean, I saw their fans posting and whatnot. They weren't abandoning them. They were with them, but they were summoning another type of energy out of these people. Now, where it concerns Ellen, what was so frightening to me, just on the observable level, was the artwork that she had on her shirt, which was a devil
It
face.
looked like a lot of people compared it to, and it does look very much like the Wilson ball from
Yes.
Castaway. It was
Yeah.
like the red head with the like scoopy eyes and like the almost flame or like spiky hair, but all red. You know, it's
Yeah.
obviously it's like the bloody handprint, right?
Right.
Oh, maybe
And
I
then
could draw
her
some chalk.
artwork that she had behind her in one of those shots, people looked into who that artist was, and these were all satanic images. Yeah, there you go. There's Wilson.
There he is. It's gonna creep me out, but you know what? I'll erase him when we're done. So it doesn't
Yeah,
haunt my
and
dreams.
that was more like, and it was red and it was demonic
Yeah.
looking if you looked really close at it.
We
Okay.
also saw it on Ellen's shirt, like when she was
Yep.
doing some of her first couple of lives from home, you know, like I
Right.
think this is March,
Right.
April.
Right. So then the part where we kind of try to decipher, are they talking in code? Are they talking to us? I mean, Howie Mandel, that one was like, whoa, we kind of pulled back a little bit, like, what the hell is going
Wait, I
on?
didn't
And
see the Howie one.
oh, you haven't?
No, what
That
did he
one,
do?
well, he did this thing with a bag and putting shoes in it, and it
I
was just
did
like,
see that. Oh my God, I did see that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
this is crazy. It's
Like created his own shoe bag out of a bag, like like a
but
weird
then
arts
cut
and
the
crafts
corners on
thing.
it, and it was
Yeah,
just there's who knows what the hell all that means. I'm getting into Ellen DeGeneres, her reputation, okay, like Harvey Weinstein's reputation in the industry, was a cold, mean bitch. That's been known
yeah.
for
I've
decades.
heard that
And
from everybody who's
she
worked
was
on the
that
show.
cold and mean when she was doing stand-up comedy and sucked at it.
I heard she was not a very good stand-up.
No. And so you ask yourself, well, how can somebody fail upward? Well, in this industry, if you're willing to do certain things, you can get access to other things and you have a value to the people who want to use you. And that's
Right.
not that she's not a human being, okay? I'm not here to make a claim about Ellen for the fact that she has feelings at the end of the day, and we may not agree on anything that she represents and anything that we would want to identify in real life, but she is a human being, and yet she believes she's all of these things that evil people do because they are not just outright evil devils, otherwise they'd go insane. So she's rewarded in a system for having a value which she's paid for, and they allow her and all the people around her to do those things, and no one is there to oppose them. And this kind of gets, I'm going to come in and out of this, but I wanted to tell, like, your audience should know this, okay? Jeffrey Epstein in 2008 was convicted, although it would be a slap on the wrist, right? So
Yeah.
what does that say? What did that say to Jeffrey Epstein when he learned how justice worked in this country? Did he
Right.
become more emboldened or less emboldened? Did it tell everybody else in Hollywood who was connected to him? And you can go to the Daily Beast and look at Harvey Weinstein. That article, Jeffrey Epstein had a pipeline right in through Hollywood, and it led to Harvey Weinstein. I guarantee you it led to other people as well. But Harvey Weinstein had absolutely no problem because he was protected by Mossad as well, which was well documented when he was arrested, that he had a private security detail of ex-Mossad who would go around intimidating reporters as well as actresses to keep everybody silent. It's
John,
a
who
culture
is
of
Mossad for people who have no
CIA would be our equivalent of the rogue CIA in Israel.
Okay.
And that goes back to Robert Wexler, which is Robert Wexler.
Lex Wexner, right?
Yeah, no, well, yes, but no, we need to go to Ghislaine Maxwell's father.
Max.
Maxwell, Robert Maxwell.
Yeah, Robert
sorry.
Maxwell.
He was CIA, or he was Mossad, and for Israel. So this thing has such deep roots. It's not like everybody is on the same level, right? Because these are actors. These are actors who play people on TV for us, to keep us entertained, to message things, to give. It's not about Democrat. It is. You can call it political, but it's really about conditioning the masses to believe in these people as they're presented to you on television, and this is the scariest part that I learned about the subconscious mind. There are 10 laws that govern it. One of them is that if you put somebody on television whom you identify with and trust, no matter what they say to you, it goes into your subconscious mind. So
Wow.
here's the thing. If you trust somebody, it's like a parent, if a child to a parent. If the parent trusts a child and if the child trusts the parent and the parent says to that child, I love you, when they harm them, that child will take that in, and that will be its condition for love. It will assimilate that for which love is being expressed or said to me, even though it's not. And that'll cause enormous rifts within that kid.
Absolutely, because I knew my dad loved me, but he threw a chair at me when I was 8. So it's like I grew up being like, yeah, I love this guy, but I'm scared the fuck of him. You know what I mean? Like that, you know, the dude is like loses his temper from time to time. So right, we all make associations, and like I was looking back because we did a swap cast about Free Britney Spears and like talking about MK Ultra too, and like I feel like this is so deep for a lot of people who are like, what are they talking about? But I was looking at a lot of Lady Gaga's music videos, and I was like blown away with the symbolism. She was like in Bad Romance, she was straight up in a cloning center. And then you also seen her at I think at an awards show, and she was wearing basically like this outfit. She was all in red, face covered. Everything was like the bloody hand or whatever. It's
they call it fashion.
They call it fashion. They're like, oh, she's so wild. She wears a meat dress, and it's like, yeah, but there's so much cloning symbolism and cannibalism symbolism in her music videos, and I was like, holy shit! And then of course
Katy Perry.
her. Yeah.
Well, and for the audience that's not like that's new to this, okay, you're talking to a film producer, okay? Did I always know this? No, but it was always right in front of me, but I never saw it until these last several years. And if you had told me any of what we're talking about right now, I'd be like, come on, dude. I listened to that. I saw the music video. It's a good song. Leave her alone.
It's a great song.
It's not her. This is the whole thing. The programming is to get you to identify with her personality so that you don't look at any of this other stuff. I tell people, it's like if somebody came off the street dressed like that, acting like that, saying these things, would you accept that without question? No, you wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But we've become familiar with all of these people somehow. I mean, I know how they do it, but in the general sense, somehow we have let our guard down to think that because we see something on television, that we know that person in real life, and we've never experienced anything with them. I can tell you right now, I mean, outside of Hollywood, most of the people on television and the media, and I knew this from having a friend who was a psychiatrist who treated them, most of the people, the personalities you see on television giving you the news are some of the most effed up people in the world in their real life. They're egotistical, they're shallow, but more than that, they're on multiple prescription drugs. A lot of them have psychotic, outbreaks, and they can keep it together on TV, but in their real life, when those cameras are off, that's just who they are. It's not like they're, the thing is like you get true believers paid to do it. They're actors on television playing.
It's a performance.
It's a performance. It's a performance art. You watch Rachel Maddow, and you should study. I'll recommend it to people to do because it'll make you psychotic. But if you watch the way her intonation and the inflections and the furrowing of the brow and all, this is all studied. This is all studied, and people do it because they're trained to do that. They're trained to imprint the emotion with the information in you, so you don't think about critically what they're telling you without, with questioning it.
You just go, emotionally, you just go, like Rachel Maddow, she seems really upset, angry, concerned.
Must be true.
Yeah.
Must be true.
Same thing. And like, oh, wow, a woman is running for president. Like, that's me. That's like her success is my success. People got so attached to Hillary Clinton, like millennials, just like me, like just like sobbing for weeks, still people sobbing that she didn't win and attaching so much to her. And it's like, you don't know her. She's literally evil.
Oh yeah. No, this gets into the deeper stuff, but going back to Ellen to finish this story, because she is, when I make a claim, like when I say somebody who knows that she's a cold meme, I'm talking from multiple points, and there are testimonies out there to people outside of the articles. This lady knew full well what the producers were doing with their interns, with anybody who didn't submit was let go. There was a lady, I mean, it was talking about it. They talk about racial stuff.
Didn't
That's
submit
like
to what? So basically there were what, like orgies going on, or like they'd have
blowjobs in the bathroom at parties, hand jobs, sexual favors. I mean, they're not getting paid anything extra for this, right? But they get elevated. So what they find are sycophants.
Yeah.
You know, obedient people that, look, we're all in this world of art, and we come from disturbed backgrounds. That doesn't make us bad people, but you can tell truthful art without abusing people and taking advantage of them. And then you don't get art at all. You get a slave and somebody who becomes a propagandist, and they march in lockstep because they're rewarded. They're basically, like I said the other night on a live stream, we go out and we seek out our families again, for which we came from when we don't have a family. You know, so many people leave home to come to LA with a dream,
or New York,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about in the most innocent sense, right? I'm not talking about the sociopaths and all that. But they come out here with a dream, and the dream gets crushed. But it's not the money and the fame that changes somebody. It's the incubated childhood in there that comes out because they're rewarded. You have kids as young children. I'm not talking about teens. I'm talking about children whose parents are willing to do whatever it takes to get their child in to make money. That sexual abuse started way before. Like with Britney Spears, I used to have a crush on her. I loved her to death. I almost lost my girlfriend in college over her, because every time Baby One More Time came on, I had to run to the TV to watch that.
You'd get hard immediately.
Because I watched that gyration of her hips, and it was just fucking awesome. So, but I followed her story, and it broke my heart when I learned that, you know, I saw a red flag when she was 8 years old. I think it was in a magazine years ago, that she used to run around her house naked.
What?
Not as a baby, not as a toddler, but as a young kid with her father and mother there.
Oh, God.
Okay. Then you have the story of her mother in her 14th or 15th birthday party puts, you know, this is a virgin. This is the, you know, virtuous Britney now. Puts her in a circle around her friends in a chair, and has a male stripper strip down and grind up all over her. And her mom is there just laughing and cheering it on like it's normal.
Where did you see this?
This was like 10, 15 years ago. Probably was in the Sun or the Daily Mail or something.
Birthday had a stripper at her 15th birthday.
Yes, her mom hired one. Now, flash forward to right before pre-Kevin Federline. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
That was like so long ago. Right. But what happened was she went to Las Vegas with her old friend from Louisiana. This boy, I saw his testimony. He was such a sweetheart. He truly loved her. And it was like her last chance to break free. So she went to Vegas with this guy and got married to him. And you know, it was like he said.
I remember this. It was like really short-lived, wasn't it?
It was short-lived, but he described it because somebody was willing to interview them. I think it was another paper in the UK. Nobody in the US touched it, other than the cover story. And he really loved her. He really cared for her. And he said it was like so beautiful. And then the next day she woke up and called her mom and told her, and her mom freaked the hell out, yelled at her, came to Las Vegas. They got I'm not sure if it was the lawyer, the agent, the whole team came in, swooped in, separated them, admonished him, you know, she was like completely silent. She wouldn't even speak. It was
Whoa.
just so surreal to him, like how everything was beautiful and perfect. And then her mother came in like this mean monster and like told him that he's going to ruin her life, ruin her career. You know, and so he was broken, not because he really didn't want to hurt her. He
Right.
didn't
They
want
had
to
just
hurt
gotten
her.
married, right? They
Right,
were
they got
in
married and
love.
everything, and so he just saw like this beautiful girl that he had grown up with from high school or before then, and as kids, and you know, he wasn't trying to get rich off of her. I didn't sense that from anything he was talking about, and the way he talked, it was just very sincere and honest. So, long story short is all this stuff goes down overnight, and then the next day they invite him down to dinner. She's there and she just has her head down. She's not saying anything. And they hand him a plane ticket and tell him to get out of there. And they all laugh at him.
Whoa.
And so
Brittany's how old at this point?
I
Do
think
you
she's
remember?
38.
What,
And she's
30? Wait,
talking.
she's 38 now. How old was she when she like got married to this like?
She probably, I think she was like 20. When did she get married?
So it was before, yeah, before
Before Kevin
Federline. So
Federline. Yeah.
before
And here we
2008.
go. We trade a guy that loves her for this douchebag. I know from a fact, like people that I knew that like back when she was dating Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst, she was like doing lines of cocaine with him and walking his dog. But this girl, I mean, she was like everybody in America
Oh
loved
God,
her.
everybody wanted
Every
to be
guy,
her.
every girl. I mean, she
Yeah.
just had the perfect innocence and beauty and spirit and sexuality that
She had spunk, but she wasn't like, I remember watching watching her and then Christina Aguilera come out with Dirty. It was like the ultimate, like, ooh, like yin and yang. I love them both
You had
so
like Angel
much.
over here and Devil over here. And yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I need to go to a Catholic school. Get me out of this public school uniform. Nobody finds that sexy. It's just shorts.
Yeah. But the bigger context, I mean, we don't have to rehash Britney's whole life and everything, what she's gone through, but what we've seen over the last 20 and definitely the last 10 years, and now it's almost like within 6 months, you have stars that, where do they start? They start innocent. It's the virtuous image. They talked about celibacy and all that back then, but I mean, look at the trajectory of Ariana Grande. I mean, she's like out there now like a prostitute in almost every single one of her videos. I mean, with stilettos, and there's stories that you can read on crazydaysandnights.net. That's Inti Lawyer, and they've been on the money every single time. And they talked about her in a blind reveal that she has been a sex slave over there for years, and now is recruiting girls for the ones that like the younger ones. They don't like the 21 and 22-year-olds. They like the 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds.
Wait, so this has nothing to do with Epstein? This is another thing?
This is just rings within the Hollywood community. I don't think for a moment, though, that it's separate from Epstein, Weinstein, because it's not that everybody's in the same group, in the same club, but if you're going to do certain things, you got to go to certain places. And if somebody wants you, they want you. I mean, this is like, you can go back and look at public. I mean, these are out in the public. You can look at times where stars have traveled overseas and they're seen with this mogul or this billionaire and accompanying them. That's yachting. That's what they call yachting.
Well, she was dating Pete Davidson, which I knew from stand-up comedy. And I was like, go Pete. I mean, he's a little bit of a hot mess, so that didn't work out.
But I'm going to tell you, like, I think all of this is the majority of those relationships that they put together. That's false. Like, those aren't, the dating thing is for, I mean, these people, they'll come in and they'll just end it. They'll say, okay, you got to break up now. Right. And then they got to create a story for it. And it's like, that's how it goes. Right? Even if there's real feelings involved and there's heartbreak, this is the business. The business is of It's like once we went into reality TV and we went from Jerry Springer into reality TV, it became reality. Like the insane became reality. And yet it was presented to us as though it was like we're supposed to, I mean, they sell magazine. Look at what they did. They sell magazine covers when two people get together and get married, and then they talk about it, and then the babies come, and then they talk about that. They go on the talk shows. They write the books. They do their cooking recipes. You know, it's like, it's to sell. It's to
Yeah.
sell. I mean, we're talking about like people who sing and act.
Do you think Chrissy Teigen and John Legend are a fabricated relationship?
Uh, no, I think they're two very sick people that want each other, and unfortunately have children. And, you know, I just can relate to that through child abuse because, you know, I don't want to get too far up, but it's not necessarily all for show. There's legitimacy to it. And at the same time, were they put together? I mean, was Tom Cruise put together with Nicole Kidman? Was he put together with Katie Holmes? I mean, there's endless stories that he like sent her like a Bengal tiger, you know, like, I don't know, but if I'm in that, like, let me just say, like, as a businessman, I'm just going to act like I'm a businessman in Hollywood for a second. And I'm going, I got a business to run of entertainment. I've got to make sure that my product is tight. You know, I can't have these people showing up at strip clubs. Like I saw Benicio del Toro at a strip club trying to pick up a stripper to go back to, like,
You saw that?
oh yeah, I saw it and I waved at him. He said hello to me. And you know, yeah, I was at a strip club like years ago,
That's awesome.
on the west side of town. But it's like we're arguing over like reality, and yet it's a reflection of all of what the crap that's going on in our real world. It's like what's real and what's not real. And nobody really knows anymore, and people are getting fed up and they're getting angry, and that's by design. Because if you're going to distract everybody from what's really going on, you need to create the cover story. That's the thing that goes to Ellen. You need the cover story, which is we're finding out that, well, if we add up what's going on with Oprah, Jimmy Kimmel, I don't even care if they went to the island. Oprah's the one that like everybody should just like go, what the hell? She was with John of God. She was with that guy, Peter Nyland, up in Canada, who's the equivalent of Jeffrey Epstein in Canada. She went up there, praised about his place, gave a big interview. She goes down to John of God, does the same thing. She's close friends with Harvey Weinstein. Michelle Obama's giving a video in February of 2017 talking about
Singing his
how great
praises.
Harvey Weinstein is. They send their daughter, Malia, over to intern for him. Wow. And I'm like sitting here going, you are the president of the United States and you have the full surveillance apparatus and security detail. And you can't tell me that you don't have a dossier on this guy and the reputation that he has. And you don't know that Mossad is here inside the United States protecting this guy and going around. And I mean, this is the reality TV show come fully realized, which is why we have a reality TV show president who's stepped forward to bring the final season to an end.
Wow.
And they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep that show going, even if it means violence and chaos in the streets. And
that
doesn't
Ellen?
make me, well, no, I'm talking about in the bigger picture of everything, what this
Hollywood
time is that we're living through. Ellen, I know, I'm kind of like, here's my mind, like, woo.
It's okay. That's how mine is too. That's why.
But I'm looking at it through different lenses and dimensions, and I'm going, okay, Ellen, that's just to protect everybody, so that everybody thinks it's about sexual harassment, and she can go out and do her apology, and the producers can write, you know, I mean, if you look at the testimony of the people, you either have to believe they're lying or they're exaggerating, but then there's all these other people that are corroborating it from outside over the years, and you're sitting down and you're going, wait a minute, they're sitting up here going, we really feel bad. We're so sorry. It's like, it's tone deaf.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Going, I mean, I was looking at this, I was reading it just a second ago. I was like, we are truly heartbroken and sorry to learn that even one person on our production family has had a negative experience. It's not who we are. It's not who we strive to be. And it's not the mission Ellen has set for us. For the record, the day-to-day responsibility of the Ellen Show is completely on us. We take all of this very seriously, and we realize, as many in the world are learning, that we need to do better. We are committed to doing better, and we will do better. These are people that forced their interns and their employees to give them blowjobs at parties in the bathroom and threatened their jobs if they didn't do it. They had a person who was working for them who had to leave on family emergency because they needed to be with their and when they came back, they fired them.
Wow. It was because they weren't at these parties, or because they wouldn't, or because they had to just leave. They
used the culture of fear. This is what child abuse is. Okay, This is what it is for anybody who doesn't understand. I read a testimony, a documented story 12 years ago before I made this movie called Memories of a Lost Love, which is a very beautiful and tragic film. It's a profound film. It's way ahead of its time. And I didn't know that at the time, but it really is. I read a story about 3 children in one home, okay? 2 of those kids were placed in a cage by their mother and father. One of those children was outside of that cage. And that child got the best clothes. He got to go to school. He got fed well. He got all the video games, everything. These 2 kids in the cage had been starved, had had their fingernails pulled out with pliers.
Oh my God.
And were emaciated. Okay, so what did they do? What did these psycho parents do? And this was done to them as children. That's why they do it on the level, to the degree that is so horrific that they do that to their own innocent children. Not everybody who's abused does that, but that's how severe it was for them. And they found each other and had children together and separated their children. Wow. So they elevated one child while showing, because out of fear, see, they played the children off of each other. The 2 kids in that cage that they were torturing and beating and starving were an example to the good child to say, this is what happens when you're bad. And to the children that were bad, they were saying, this is what happens when you're good.
But they never got the chance.
That is Hollywood in a nutshell.
But it's like the kids in the cage never got a chance to be good. Right? Because they're just in the cage. Because
they're not obedient slaves who will allow mommy and daddy to do everything they want to them. Here's the other thing. This is why it is imperative that we start to wake up. Not just to the horrors of the world, but our unconscious horrors that we're doing to ourselves and each other. What happened in that story was the most beautiful thing that you could ever imagine to come of the resolution of that story, that horrific story, which I just described in general details. There's more. But that little boy who was outside of that cage, the good one, called the police. And he called the police not because his mommy and daddy were doing horrible things to him or his little brother and sister. He called because he was worried about them and was afraid for them. And that's all of us. These people that run the entertainment industry are who they are. And we're not going to do no amount of shaming or hating them or tearing them to pieces on social media. You can call them out, great, but it isn't going to solve the problem of the time we're living in, of a fractured society that has had all of this shit from these people sewn into it over years, into our children's minds. We haven't even talked about the satanic messaging that's in the music industry, which they purposefully put in there so that it sows those images and those ideas in their minds to be summoned later. We have Beyonce up there and she's talking. I mean, we have Miley Cyrus, who was Hannah Montana, Innocence, right? And we have her doing a music video last year where she's dressed in this latex, skin tight, with her titties, pushing through, and she's got jaws on her vagina, and she's talking about feminism.
I did not see this. Wow.
She's talking about feminism. There is nothing feminine or divine about any of this.
Right. And they push it off like, oh, this is you,
it's empowerment.
Taking back your power.
It's taking back your power, and it's actually reducing you to nothing. You are, and let me just say this, if they do this crap to children all the time as though we don't understand what the real world is like. You don't get it. No, I don't get it, and I never will get it. Because what it boils down to is that they do this to kids. What do you think they're doing to us? I mean, do you think they really care about you? I mean, take their money away. I know you've had, porn stars, strippers, people in the adult industry. I'm not condemning them. Take the money out of the equation. Do they still work? Because they like it. Maybe some.
Some like the performance of it for sure. Like
right.
the performative aspects of it for sure. I mean, there's a reason why you get more money for doing anal. There's a reason why,
I met a girl years ago in LA. This was the non-star level. Because I used to, I'm full disclosure, I used to be out and about in LA and not an asshole or doing any of this other stuff. I just saw it in front of me a lot and not really knowing what I was seeing until I started putting it all together, because it's just there, but it's not pronounced in front of you and you don't know what you're looking at. But there was a young girl who came up to me at a party. It was a DVD release party back in those days when they did it for the porn, stuff. And I was invited.
Remember DVDs?
Yeah, 2005. And, but I knew the promoters and stuff. So they brought me in, I got on the guest list. I walk in and I meet this sweet girl who can't speak a word of English. She's from Canada, Montreal, I think, Quebec. And so she spoke French. She and I exchanged numbers. I went, we didn't go out, but I went to the beach with her and her friends.
Good on you for getting the number of a girl who doesn't even speak the same language as you.
Yeah,
that's lady killing skills right there.
It was an interesting thing, but I ended up going into the valley one time and picking her up in Van Nuys at a house, and I took her 3 friends, and I knew that they had done porn, but I didn't know how it all worked. And so what they ended up doing is they took those girls to Hawaii on a trip, all expenses paid. And when they came back, the guy who runs the company or whatever said, okay, here's the bill, $3,500 for you, $3,500 for you. So basically now next month, you've got to work this off until
what?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And what she had done is she called her grandmother, the only person she had in her family, who bought her a plane ticket. And I met her down the street because I didn't want them to see my license plate. I picked her up and I took her to the airport, and I never saw her again after that. But this is what they do. This is the child abuse system. This is it's all like it's not presented to you as dark. It's presented to you as sexy. It's presented to you as fun, and witchcraft's fun, and Ouija boards, and that's just like the first layer. They don't need you to believe in the satanic Luciferian aspects of this. I've seen that shit up close, and it is frightening. And they make it beautiful. They make it look beautiful or seem like, you see BDSM, okay, there's the play of it that everybody watches in the porn, but in real life, the real life stuff where there isn't a safe word, the real life stuff, that's torture. That's not somebody paying somebody else to go get their ass kicked in a dungeon. There is a satanic level to this whole thing. And those people, what they want to do, and I'm saying this from the outside world looking in, when you see these people up there, they don't need you to believe or worship in anything that they are messaging to you. What they are doing is they just need you to turn you away from what you are.
Ooh.
They want to take that light that's inside of you and crush it. When I got into the Child's Voice movie in 2017, and I learned about human trafficking of children, this goes to such a level. We're talking about interdimensional type stuff. And this is not like conspiracy. If you believe that there is a God, or I'm not talking about in the religious sense, but that there is a source of life that gives life to everything that grows and is around us, and that we're just not these like empty vessels walking around materialists,
that it's all
but that
meaningless.
there's supposed to be a purpose and a meaning to each and every one of our lives. Okay, starting at that point, go to the dark side of it, and let me tell you why they do what they do to children. They want to kill the closest thing that is closest to God in a child,
Right,
because
because you
it's
haven't been
innocence.
bumped around by life yet. You're not cynical. You're just like pure joy,
Your pure
happiness.
joy, your
Yeah.
pure consciousness, unaware of itself. There's no concept of tomorrow or yesterday. I mean, in your brain, I mean, you just look at it from a scientific level, the brain is 100% programmable the first 7 years of life. So you've got an operating system that you boot on, and whatever programs you put on it are going to run, not making decisions. This is not your thoughts. Your thoughts and your feelings are totally separate from this whole equation. You think they're your thoughts, but they were put there long ago, and you've continued to manifest them and replicate them and ingest more and more and more. And then you create reality this way. The Luciferians have to take what you are and pump shit into it so that you create shit out in the real world.
Right,
And then
because
they
our
give you shit to
thoughts.
believe in.
Yeah.
They give you this material world, which your identity, I mean, LA is perfect for this. You've got, your car. Hi, my name is John Paul Rice. I live at this address. I have this kind of car. I have this kind of job. This is my status.
This kind of purse, these kind of clothes.
Right.
This is my job.
And all the meanwhile, you were born as a child seeking love from your mother and father. And when you don't have it, you go to your accomplishments, your achievements, your status, your money, your wealth, all of these artificial measurements, which are given to you in the system. Now, that doesn't mean that you just, say, oh, screw this, I'm not going to work, I'm going to go into poverty. No. But once you become aware of this, then you understand the rules of the system, and you can have more self-reflection, and the layers that are all conditioned upon you begin to dissipate, and you can protect yourself, not out of fear, but standing in love. And that's where we need to go, because we're going to learn a lot about human trafficking of children. When it gets down to the single-digit ages, that's when people are going to freak out.
Tell me about A Child's Voice. So this was a movie that you said you put together. It came out in 2017, and then it was removed. It was on Amazon, right? I assume right when it came out in 2017, and then was recently, like in the last few months, removed from Amazon. Like, explain to the extent to which Amazon has kind of removed this film.
So what happened was we were on Amazon. So we made the movie in 2017. We released it in 2018. We put it on Amazon in the UK and the US. It's doing quite well.
And this was a movie about child trafficking.
So Child's Voice, for your audience, is a feature film. It's not a documentary. But what we did is we incorporated all the things that we had learned about the networks, the global network of pedophiles, but also sex traffickers and torturers and Satanists. And this before Epstein and Maxwell is known, right? So we come out a year before Epstein's arrest with this film. We show the satanic ritual. We show the child sacrifice in a very discreet, non-gory way, but it sells the idea. This is a really tender movie, actually, in a lot of ways. It shows you the darkness, but it shows you the beauty through love. And what we did was we showed a movie that was about these two outsiders, this homeless, heroin-addicted teen, and this girl who's being beaten by her boyfriend, and her boyfriend has started to kidnap children and sell them. And this child at the beginning of the movie is sacrificed. It's killed by these Satanists. We think they're just Satanists, but they're business people in this network who are trafficking kids to the high net worth, wealthy people all over the world, globally, businessmen. And
why do these businessmen and the elite and politicians, like, why do they want, what are the reasons that somebody would want a kid? Like, for the people who just can't understand, is it all sexual? Is it for sacrifice? Is it all the above?
Well, from the outside, it doesn't make any sense. But if you study child abuse, and I have, I mean, just because of my own personal stuff as a kid, I had to figure out a lot of things. But what it is that a pedophile is created. They have the most violent trauma done to them as children, oftentimes rape, and as children. And what happens is that they have to banish that knowledge, of course, but the pedophiles typically are the ones who did not have any adult. that cared for them, that in a loving, gentle, reasonably safe way. So when you push to the extreme, it's not everybody that's sexually abused becomes a pedophile. In fact, that's not the case at all. It's a small percentage, but of the ones that do, if you ask a pedophile, like, what the hell are you doing? Most of them, want to be friends with kids, and they're attracted to kids, and then they talk about all the benefits, and you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And their brains are totally wired differently, but they're created that way from childhood. So what happens is we got to distinguish between pedophiles that are attracted to children and those, which is not good. But there's a scale, and the scale would be people who are attracted to younger people and those who commit acts of violence and murder,
right,
and
the
rape
desire
and torture.
and how it's acted out. Like if
Right.
you're aware
And
of the desire, you can get therapy.
They want that violence. They want that control. So you ask the question, how could a business person, is like, a business person is a person. It just happens to be that person's life was rewarded in such a way that they ascended up that ladder because there's merit to all of it. And that's been incubated in their head. And this is a feature of their
Makes
personality.
sense. It makes sense because somebody who is more accomplishment driven, like there are seeds of that from childhood. Like if you're not getting all your love that you need from your parents, you're just trying as a kid to be like, notice me. And I know because I didn't get, like, my parents weren't like, I mean, other than the chair thing, they were like good parents. Everyone's doing the best they can. They were like decent people, but I wasn't getting like they weren't hearing me. They weren't talking to me. It was just like, they weren't really like there all the way. And I got really into springboard diving, and I was like really, really good. I got into it at like 11 and then all the way through college. And I was like really good. And they were just sort of like, my trophies were just sort of like in the basement, or whatever. And like I would do artwork and it would just be kind of like in the basement, so I like stopped doing art. It's like as a kid, you're just like looking for, and I know that's one of the things that I learned about myself in therapy is that I'm very accomplishment driven. Like even now as an adult, like I'm just all about, I got to be doing more. I got to be doing the best, the most, or else I'm not good enough. So that's all formed really early. So it makes sense that these elite businessmen and politicians or whatever, like they're up at that level because that's how they're operating. They're accomplishment driven. It's like do whatever it takes to succeed. So it's interesting how you can see the Venn diagram of like how those two might come together in the same kind of
and
person.
It's not every one of them, and it's not expressed the same among all, but this other level was I'll point your audience to the Hostel 1, Hostel 2 movies.
Okay.
That was disclosure. Eli Roth's movies. He did that after Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever is a great horror film, but Hostel 1 and really Hostel 2. Hostel 2 got into the satanic nature of it, and where they actually bid on girls. I mean, they're still keeping it above children age. These are teens or young 20-year-olds. But so the other side of this is, it's like, okay, why does, you watch Billions, right? And you say, well, he has a dominatrix type wife. And so what is it? Is it success? No, it's not success. This is a part of our consciousness that's both conscious and unconscious, because if we were really truly aware of what we were doing to ourselves, we would stop the damage that's being done, to us, to other people, the suffering that we have. We would take a step back and stop doing this and allowing it to happen and ignoring it. That's the other side of this, is I think the denial. There's two ways to look at the denial of this issue. It's like, it's a good thing that people don't want to believe that this is true. I think that's a win for humanity. I really do. But on the other side of it, those who are willfully ignorant, I'm not saying question them, judge them, although that time is probably going to happen whether we like it or not, because the trauma in everyone is going to come out, and that's where we're going to be. But we've got to do what we can to head this off by doing the inner work and loving each other and being not tolerant, forgiving ourselves and forgiving each other, and getting back to what everybody wants, which is to love. I mean, these individuals that I'm talking about have a conscious desire to hurt and take pleasure in the harming of kids. And anybody who doesn't, understand that, go look up Aneke Lucas. I was an elite. I was a child sex slave at 6 to the elite. That's on YouTube. You can find it. She did in 2016. She's given TED Talks. She's given numerous things. She's a wonderful human being I've gotten to know over the last couple of years. But she describes her involvement in that ring and seeing the blood stains on the wooden butcher's block that they were about to kill her on.
Jesus.
But that's why I say, you look at Hostel, there is a murderous group of people out there that are killing kids for pleasure. We're organ harvesting children's organs on the black market and selling them globally, not just like a little bit, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Planned Parenthood is involved. Like
Planned Parenthood is you should go to people should look up Corey Diggs, .com.
How do you spell that? Corey?
Corey's Diggs, CoreySDigs.com. She did a whole expose. She's probably one of the best investigative journalists out there on the face of the earth, because she does fact-based, open source, and she puts timelines together. So it's not like just a story. It's like, here are all the facts.
Mm-hmm.
In 1975, then this happened, then this happened. And she shows you the progression of all of these programs that we call conspiracy, but she gives you the whole context, and she gives you like irrefutable proof, so that even if you look at what's happening right now, you can go back in time and look 40 years ago how they were starting the transgender agenda in the universities.
And it's come out. It's been proven that Planned Parenthood, like, they sell the baby parts. Like, they sell the aborted parts.
Yes. And the testimonies of those women, it was like stone cold. It was like, you're a human being. How can you be doing this? Well, this all goes back to the child abuse issue, because a human being doing that, like taking the body parts of babies that are aborted and having no like moment of come to Jesus moment or consciousness or whatever the hell it is, and say, oh my God, what are we doing here? They didn't do that.
Because they believe it's not a child yet. And like that.
But the question is, why don't they believe it's a child? It's because I can tell you it's not a child.
So that you can do it.
And I can argue that it's not a child, but why? This is what I said earlier when we first talked. I said, how can a woman who was not loved by her mother or father and put first was the priority in a real and loving way, ever see that life growing inside of her as precious, such to the point that she'd be willing to die for it? And that's what you hear parents do, who love their children, willing to die for the children. The children get sick. They're like, please, Lord, take me, not her.
Yeah.
So how can you have this opposite end of the equation? Is it a thought? Is it a political view? No, it's expressed in those ways. Those are symptoms, but we have to get
feminism. It's modern
core
feminism.
issue. Yeah, and feminism being turned upside down, and messaging to angry women who have issues with their fathers as men who are rapists and misogynists and sexists have issues with their mothers in childhood. You don't get that because you're a man, because you're aggressive.
Because it's the patriarchy. It's like, no.
It is. It's like the perfect deflection from looking at the root cause of the issue and celebrating us fighting over the symptoms of the problem. That's what activism has become today.
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
It is the perfect vehicle for which you don't have to look at yourself, and you can project all of your inner troubles out onto the world, and as you see them, and you can be fighting against them and voting against them and donating against them and marching against them and just whipping up all that anger, and you have no resolution other than you ultimately will end descending into violence.
It's like, even it connects with what Jordan Peterson talks about, where like there's been this shift towards like the identity politics versus the focus on the individual. It's like we blame all of our problems on the outside world and the systems in place and the patriarchy, which is not toxic. It's like, I don't know. It was formed out of because women, we make and grow the babies, and it's like, I wish I didn't have to work all those day jobs, but like, we're blaming the outside when we need to be looking within, like getting our own shit together before we you know,
Yes.
pick
Because
fights with other
what
people.
ultimately he was talking about, and it's not just Jordan Peterson, but what we're looking at right versus left in this country is the extremes, right? We're seeing the rise in extremes. Now, most people say, well, where's the right on the extreme? No, there is an extreme right too. And it's in contention with the left, right? But here's the thing. Both need each other. And the majority is in the middle. And when there's no structure, the structure has been pulled all the way to the left and the individualism has been pulled all the way to the right. What we really need is what Jordan Peters is talking about, is to go inward, because you have to do the work there. Then you get the individuals who create the collective that make the structure symbiotic within itself, so that the structures reflect the consciousness of the collective of individuals that make it up, for which only can you do that through your own inner work of your observance of behavior.
Yeah.
Whereas if you criticize the structure, you're not looking at who inhabits that structure and what's creating it and making it tyrannical. That's what
Right.
he's saying. And for identity politics, it's perfect that you can have Omar or AOC up there because they're women and women of color. And so you can't debate their positions.
On the outside, they look diverse and inclusive, but then they're
Of
all
course.
saying the same message. It's like the same message and it comes in different colors. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's visual diversity, but not like diversity of thought.
No. So this gets to Hollywood and art in our movie. So we got knocked off of Amazon.com. The link is still there, but you can't rent the movie. You can't purchase it. You can't stream it. You can't watch it on Prime. So we were doing really well. And what happened is, between the Wayfair scandal and Maxwell, the minutes started going up.
Wow.
Like just organically just started going up, because people were learning about human trafficking, and they were finding a child's voice in the algorithms or wherever they were going. And then a week and a half ago, the director's daughter calls up and says, Daddy, I went to go share your movie with my friends because they're all asking about this human trafficking. And I can't, it says it's unavailable. It says it's unavailable. I could play the trailer, but I can't watch the movie. And so then I went to Amazon. I turned out on our video dashboard, they had unpublished it in the United States and the UK. I went to our distributor, 70 plus countries worldwide that we were in, took it all down. And they took down some of our other movies, but I didn't make us think about that. They took them off, and when Amazon comes in, they don't, when they take one of your movies off, I've gone all the way up to Jeff Bezos, by the way. I got an email from his assistant.
Whoa.
And not on this one, but on a previous one. And they basically give you the standard thing. We understand the frustration regarding a child's voice not being available on Prime Video and apologize for the experience. Our selection changes from time to time. We value customer feedback to help us improve, and will pass your interests along. And what happened was, we went out on Twitter and we told everybody, and then the Maxwell story broke and the files were unsealed, and it just got huge traffic, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of retweets on different, levels and stuff. But then I just did this Instagram live stream just for my followers, which was about like 500-600, maybe 700. And it must have struck a nerve, because we're now at like, I don't know, my video alone is like 25 to 30,000 views in less than 24 hours. I've had thousands of people follow me on Twitter, retweets, sharing this video.
Instagram too. Instagram too.
Instagram too. I mean, the Instagram followers, I've gotten hundreds of emails from people just saying, thank you for saying this, for just laying it all out there in such a very coherent way. And it was all about love. In the final analysis, there is no way out of this system through destruction, because we all have seen in our own way, no matter what. This isn't a left or right issue. This is a human issue. It's a human rights issue, and it's a child issue, and it's a child abuse issue for which the entire system is dependent on. It's a symptom of many things that are about the destruction of life on this planet. And we're in a time now where people are waking up at a clip faster than ever before, and they will continue to do so. but it's not just going to be evenly distributed and organic and like everybody's going to have a kumbaya moment. It's just that we have to go through this. Unfortunately, we have to see this darkness in order to come and have the light rise up in us. And it's going to show, there's going to be waves of this. There's going to be Christianity and spirituality is going to go way, way up, and so is Satanism and worship as well.
Wow.
And it's, you can call it like simplified a spiritual battle. It is, but it's a love battle. It's a light, the children of the light versus the children of the dark, but it's not killing them and attacking them and hating them. It's actually bringing a bridge out of forgiveness for those who are suffering because they're in the dark, because they are suffering.
They were raised in the dark. All they know is the dark, so they don't know the light.
Right. And the thing is that sometimes in my journey to heal, I had to get to a point where I was tired of living that way. Like, just, I didn't want to live this way anymore. I saw where I was headed. I go, my God, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have children. I'm a nice guy, you know, like people, I'm able to find a very attractive woman, but you know, they're all crazy. And I was doing this to myself. And some guy said, you know, like I was telling him like all these crazy women that I dated. He goes, well, who picked them?
Ooh, it was you. But crazy women were better in bed. I mean,
yes,
there's so many positives.
There are so many positives, but just not good for moms.
True.
Not good for moms. Now, that's not that. I'm just saying in the general sense, if you want to do that and that's your thing, man. You know, like cool for you. This is not condemning other people for what they want to do and what they feel is right for themselves. But we have to have a line drawn, which is to say, we're not going to do this crap to children. We're not going to let it happen. We need to get back into a loving relationship with our kids, with other kids, and give them the positive love and reinforcement that all children, when you just speak to them and give them attention, they like pop up. They're just like, ooh.
You know what I saw on Instagram, and I just shared it to my story. This woman, I think her name is Red Pill Babe, but she had this troll doll. It was her daughter's like second birthday, and she had this troll doll, and she was like, look at this cute trolls doll. Like, you push her tummy and she says things. Great. And then, and she's like, and the mom's like, I was holding this toy and it started to make some sounds that weren't on the box, that weren't advertised. And she pulls the troll doll up. She lifts up its skirt. There is a secret button between the troll doll's legs. I shit you not. It was a button right there. And when you pushed it, it would go up and it would go like, ooh, it would almost make like kind of sex sounds, you know? Yeah. And it blew my mind. I was like, a secret fucking button for kids to just like discover on their own. Like it makes perfect sense with what you're saying. It's like
a sexual genital area of the doll.
A troll does not need a button in their crotch. You know what I mean? Like, just let it be a troll. Trolls have no genitals. All right. Let the trolls, like how trolls were when I was, you know, in elementary school. We lined them up on our desk. You know, there was nothing electronic about it. The hair would get matted. It was great.
Right. And you had them on the end of your little eraser, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And then this woman was like, well, I couldn't find this doll anymore. You know, on the Walmart website, it was like, she couldn't find it anywhere. And she was just like blown away. And then somebody had said to her, well, maybe it's supposed to make that noise when you sit it down, but it's like, there's no reason for a button between your legs, you know?
No.
And why wouldn't you have advertised that on the box? Why wouldn't you have been like, when she sits down?
That's a feature. Like, that's a feature that you want on it.
That's more toy. But so that's pretty gross. So I wonder what's going to happen with Ellen, because so this whole story is the cover up, right? That it's the toxic work environment.
She'll lose her career. She'll be admonished. More will come out, and then she can just kind of go away. Right. And then
Ellen is very much involved, just as Tom Hanks is, with the child trafficking on the West Coast. That's the idea, right?
Right. So when you're talking about this level of people, you know, again, they're playing. Okay. So there's a legitimacy to their position because she's a talk show host. Tom Hanks is an actor, but it's like that's what they are to you and I. They're still a person when they, exit that stage and all
Right.
that. But so think about like all that's filled around them. Like I was telling you earlier, they just act, they sing, and they talk, but their whole lives now. You think you do.
You think you
But it's
do?
all within an illusion of their
Oh,
life.
she dances. She's spunky,
She's shucking and jiving and
Tom Hanks, he's like, oh, the ultimate sweetheart,
No,
That's what
yeah,
caught my eye. I was like, yeah, they are very much putting it out there how much Hanks is just like the nicest guy. And then
America's
that's what made
Dad,
me look
all of
more
that.
into
Yeah,
it.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
there is total merit in everything he's done with his Instagram, the questionable nature of those photos of him, photoshopped. The set that he was on for Saturday Night Live was not his house. People have broken that down and just with certain details there. I mean,
That he was maybe on Guantanamo Bay and it was like it was some kind of a fake background, or the background was like government.
he just wasn't home. He wasn't where he said he was. And now he's he's a Greek citizen. And you look at the law there. Do you know why that came
because
up?
they view pedophilia as like a disability, like being diabetic, right?
Yes.
And you actually, I think, can get money from the government, just like, oh, I'm a paraplegic. Yeah, I'm a pedophile. Yeah. It's all the same. Yeah.
So the thing that people can expect is this. What we're going to see is we're probably going to see a lot of COVID-19 deaths. Steve Bing, who leapt supposedly from 27 stories up in the Century City. I mean, he was in the Billionaires Club with Jeffrey Epstein.
Who was who? Who did you say?
Stephen Bing. Oh. He was the producer. He's the producer of the Tom Hanks. What was that? That train movie, the animated train movie with Ivan Reitman directing it. Polar Express.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Bing had Shangri-La Entertainment. Shangri-La was in working with Playtone, which was Tom Hanks's production company on that. He financed it. He was a multi-millionaire guy. He was married to Elizabeth Hurley. Supposedly they had a child that he never saw. I mean, there's just endless gossipy garbage about all that. But when he supposedly killed himself by leaping off of a 27-story building in Century City, which anybody who knows that's like one of the wealthiest real estate areas. That's right over by CAA, by the way, and ICM. But this guy, I mean, the story they gave was that, he was down and depressed because of coronavirus.
Yeah, okay, relax. There's no toilet paper. Life goes on.
Listen, I'm like sitting here going, you are going to try to tell me that a multi-millionaire, billionaire guy who is one of the most powerful men in all of Hollywood and hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, and he's just a guy who is just sad.
Just worried about the regular old lab-created flu. Yeah, right.
For a second. But it's even if that's the case, it's like if you look that day on Bill Clinton's Twitter.
When was this? Do you remember?
Huh?
Do you remember when this was? When this guy Bing?
Oh God, this was like a month ago. 11 billion news cycles ago.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was a month, 4 to 5 weeks ago. It was before. Yeah, it was at least 2 weeks before Maxwell was arrested. And that's why I mean, if you just look at the timeline of events and all this between these arrests, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of crazy. But so he supposedly leapt right to his death to kill himself. And Bill Clinton goes out on Twitter that day, and the tweet, it was like tone deaf. He goes, "I hope he's at peace now." What the F?
Wow.
This is supposedly like your longtime friend.
Yeah.
You would have like something in memoriam, kind of
it's
like
more of a Facebook post, more of a long Facebook post,
like
kind
a
of
gentle
thing.
soul, and like I just hope he's at peace now. But it wasn't even like that. It was like the structure of I'm not trying to be like conspiratorial.
This is on Bill Clinton's tweet. I can look it up right now.
Twitter. You should just read it and just kind of like absorb try to get in the head of somebody who's your friend committing suicide and you being so saddened by it. And then you go, well, you're not, there's nothing like it just doesn't meet the moment. It doesn't,
It was tone
just
deaf.
the way it was worded, it just felt like so kind of cold. I'm not trying to like say there was a code in there. I'm just saying it was really cold. Like you wouldn't say that about your friend in such a way and be done with it. And you're like, okay, moving on.
Do you think
That's how it felt.
Bill Clinton is even in charge of his own Twitter account? Like I feel like, oh, here it is. 6/22/20. I loved Stephen Bing very much. He had a big heart and he was willing to do anything he could for the people and causes he believed in. I will miss him and his enthusiasm more than I can say, and I hope he's finally found peace. All right. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Yeah. But knowing who these people are.
yeah, this is a very clean.
This is a very clean, like Stephen Bing. I mean, this is not like conspiracy. I would like people to go and just look at, I think it was in BuzzFeed or Daily. It's been a while since I read it, but the two people that have killed themselves were in the billionaire club with Jeffrey Epstein, and they were both connected to Bill Clinton. Like, it wasn't just him. It was this other guy who was a famous guy. I can't remember his name, but it's like, I'm just asking people to like step back for a second and forget the words. To me, it just feels like this is a guy who was your closest friend. You give all the niceties and stuff, but it's like, I hope he's finally at peace. I'm going, well, what was he suffering with?
Right.
Like, what was he struggling with? I guess is it the cover story that I'm sorry, I'm being, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not you, it's me. I just see these people in such a different way than everything that they say, like on the media.
Yeah, it's not coming across authentic. And you know, for as close as this guy was to Clinton, it's like well, his tweets are very professional, polished. I'm sure he's running it through a couple people. I don't know. Maybe he has somebody writing it all for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just outed as like, I mean, we all knew, but I feel like now it's finally getting mainstream. You know, it was trending Bill Clinton is a pedo. That's been trending still, I think.
Yes.
He's one of the few people that I think the masses can be like, yeah, undeniably he's involved. If you're at all looking even a little bit into the Epstein stuff.
I mean, it's like whatever angle you want to come out with it, flight logs, all the associations. Ghislaine Maxwell was giving a speech at the Clinton Global Initiative. They were involved with Terra Mar. They're involved with edge.org. Edge.org is probably the most, like you can even still go there today, edge.org, not com, edge.org, and go to people. Look up B and you'll find Jeff Bezos on there. You look up G, you'll find Bill Gates on there. You'll find the who's who of every industry, and you can go back in the Wayback Machine, start looking at all of these people. Marina Abramovich is on there. Jeffrey Epstein was on there. He funded the whole thing. That was in BuzzFeed last year. He funded this billionaires club, and some of the things that are written on there in Science talk about children as being, one of them said, indeed, human beings are in our youngest years the most useless creatures in all of the animal kingdom.
I mean,
that was a declarative statement that had this was by a guy who had written a New York Times bestseller. And he's writing on edge.org about, I forgot what it's called.
Like,
but
that's like something a robot would say. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of a person says that? Like,
I mean, qualify it.
Yeah.
Can you I mean, you're making a declarative statement about 7.8 billion of all of us as children, and all children born today are useless, among the most useless creatures in all of the animal kingdom.
It's like, no, they bring people.
In what
joy.
way?
They teach you things about yourself.
So this was, these people, I just, the television set is the most powerful thing in the world, because it's that movie Network. I mean, it was made in 1976, that movie. Howard Beale, he's saying everything that comes out of the tube, you are the tube, you believe in this tube. And it's really true. It's really, really true. Even on social media, they have conditioned our minds. I mean, they've known what they are doing to our minds and our children's minds. And I just tell people, like, I know you have an addiction to your phone like everybody, but forget that they're tracking you and doing everything else. Turn it on airplane mode. Turn off your notifications. Unless, like, you have to ask yourselves, like, is the world calling me that I have to be right there right now with them and drop everything I'm doing and stop thinking about what I'm doing, or stop in the moment, that the life that I'm living, to like a Pavlovian dog, just going up to it like more and more and more and more and more. And it becomes an obsession to the point where your mind is going to sleep with that crap in your head. And you're waking up the next day with those thoughts in your head, whether you're aware of them or not. But it's training your brain to be ADHD.
Anything, which I already had.
Like all of the cuts and commercials or music videos or anything that you're watching, like this to this to this to this to this, it's firing off impulses in your brain and starts to condition them to become a habit. And
what does that mean for them? More consumerism, more just being asleep in general?
Yeah, well, I mean, the net effect is you being asleep, but you being 100% programmable, because they can just keep stimulating you. And the thing is that and this is why they do what they do, because human beings, by our nature, just look at a child and how it grows up, is to stretch, is to grow, is to learn, it's to express itself as wide and as big as possible. So what do these Luciferians do? They use the organs of technology so that what that expression becomes is the desensitization and waiting for the next hit to come that's greater and greater and greater. And that's all designed there to feed your ego, which is your false self. It makes you that consumer because it has validity and merit to it, but yet at the same time it gets you, it only goes so far. It's impulsive. So they make you impulsive so that you don't sit down and think about anything, and you can be emotionally conditioned. So that when they give you the emotional language that you've been conditioned to, with your mind being firing like this all the time and not slowing down and relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
You get like
John, there's been a Coach purse that I have wanted this whole lockdown. It's pink and has like gold chains. I was like, I am definitely buying this for me. I have shopped very little during this lockdown. I deserve it. And then I just was like, would tell myself like, no, I'll just wait, you know? And it's like weird. Every once in a while I think about it. It's like, even if I had bought that brand new purse, like I wouldn't have used it once in months. You know what I mean? Like I haven't been out on a date. I haven't been like out and about. It's like I didn't need this thing, whereas like if things had been normal, I would have for sure bought it. And like yes. I just buy a ton of stuff because I'm walking around in the city, I pass a Sephora, I go, I need another lipstick. You know what I mean? Like I had a hard day. Let me get it.
Therapy, right?
Yeah, and it really is. It's all about, then you're waiting, you wait for the box to come, you open the box, now you have the thing, and now there's nothing else like to look forward to anymore. That's why it keeps you buying stuff. And I was so in that, you know, and that's what's been cool. One of the only few good things about the lockdown is like I am just buying so much less stuff, and like I, you know, kind of saved up, and I bought like a Mac to do this very podcast on. So it's like
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's been good to like not just mindlessly buy stuff because I'm not feeling like great about myself, or it's, you know, it's a high or whatever.
Yeah. It's a very interesting time we're living through, and it will be. I'm not saying COVID-19 will be with us, because I think everybody needs to learn from themselves just some basic facts about flu virus and viruses in general, for which the general public obviously was not informed prior to this about anything about how your immune system works, how you actually have millions of viruses in your body at all times, and they actually contribute to your immunity, and they're organisms that live in there and they have consciousness too. But I mean, that's a little too much for some. but the thing is that we started with, I just talk about the observable. We started with help, you know, keep grandma and grandpa safe. And now kids can't go back to school. Flu is where kids spread it, and this shit ain't spreading among kids.
Yeah, not
and
at all.
And you want to lock down the schools. Why? Because they're hurting children this way. Now, I'm not talking about the educators and the teachers. But the reason why school is being locked down, why church is being locked down, is because we're creatures that are social. We're meant to be around each other. And children, my God, when they don't have their friends, it's like
friends. Yeah.
They miss their friends. But this is the time in their life that is imprinting negative synapses, neurons that are connecting in their brain. So these are developmental times. They're rifts in the human development that we're going to be dealing with for a long time, but we have the ability to heal ourselves. This is kind of why my message over the last year when I talk, my healing that I went through would not be possible if I did not go within. And I tell people, I say, like, well, where do I start? Start by being totally honest with yourself in a way that you've never been before. If you look at how well you do your job and all your skills, turn those skills on yourself. If you're a mechanic, do a diagnostic on yourself. Have that quiet conversation with yourself. Don't try to think your way through and fight your way through it all and tell yourself, no, it's not about proving yourself to anybody. But if you're looking like at the outside world and it's not making sense to you anymore, it's going to suck you in. It already had, but it's going to suck you in further, because what's going to happen next is going to be a horror show, and it doesn't have to be. And I think more people, the good side of the equation is more people are waking up than ever before. They're starting to say, this is enough, this is bullshit. You guys are creating cognitive dissonance on a level where we have people beating each other up over not wearing masks.
Oh my God, yeah.
And we have people looking at you as though you're about to kill them because you don't have yours on. And it's
when we
like,
know it was told to us early on that they do nothing, and it was told
right.
us, yeah.
So here's what this is what people like. If you try to follow the logic of all this, you'll get insane, right? Like we're just starting in it. But there is a purpose for every single thing that they do. Fauci is up there. First of all, our nation's doctor who plays one on TV has not treated a patient in over 2 decades.
Wow. Why is no one talking about that?
Nobody's talking about that. Why are the doctors, or why are the people who are not playing doctors on TV, why are they not telling you about taking vitamin C daily to boost your immune system? Talking about what foods you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. I mean, in terms of what will contribute to a more
inflammation, yeah, keeping your body alkaline.
Well, they closed down the gym, so now you can't do de-stressing. You see how all of this works? Mm-hmm. They're not talking about sleep. Getting sleep, that is like the key to the whole damn thing, no matter what you eat don't eat, or what are they preaching? Hygiene, masks, social distancing, self-quarantine, goggles now, vaccinations. Goggles. So it's all what? Profit. Commodification of your health, which is what it's the totality of everything that they've been doing. Anybody who looks at the pharmaceutical industry and where it started with JP Morgan Chase and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, they all used holistics, all of them. And they created the pharmaceutical industry so that they can make a profit on treating symptoms, not the root cause of the problem. Wow. These are the basics. And we need training wheels right now. We really need training wheels to get our heads out of that television, out of that phone, and start looking around at reality in front of us as it exists. I live out here in a small podunk country town in rural Georgia. We got blacks and whites here, okay? Equal. There is racial tension among a small group of people until you say hello.
Right, because then it's just, we're all part of the same thing, right?
It's all in the head.
Yeah.
And it's all being identified as skin color. I'm not arguing with people, but I asked them passionately, I said, is your skin color all that you are? Are you a black? Tell me monolithic, this experience of being black in America. No, it's your own lived experience and the story you've told yourself from childhood.
Yeah.
That one person who effed with you, or the cop that was rude to you or did shit to you.
That doesn't define you.
That does not define you. That's their problem. The racist has to live with their racism.
To not take that personally, internalize it. Oh, now there's this thing that the world is against me. There's this big racism problem.
Oh, and look at what they do. Who gives you those movements? Washington, D.C. and the media. The two people everybody knows are liars and corrupt. And yet somehow they're telling us the truth on this one. They give you the movement. They'll give you Black Lives Matter. Why? Because it weaponizes and divides people and makes everything contentious. What's the net effect? Unity? or division.
Absolutely division. Yeah. And then you have Joe Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. It's like it all goes together.
And it all goes together because, again, they're talking to their own group. And when we see it, we're like horrified by it, but that's a great effect for them. This is the thing, is like this illusion that they have kept everybody in is that these are the good people, these are the bad people. Yep. Colin Kaepernick can take a knee to divide the country, even on the basis of fact of police need better training. Where are we today? My God, we got to defund them. But he takes a knee, and 3 years later, after we've debated why doesn't he get hired, what he was talking about, he takes a check, a multi-million-dollar NFL star level deal from Nike in an endorsement deal.
Wow.
Hadn't played a down of football.
Yeah, and I also heard that his career was kind of like going down.
It was already going down.
He had peaked from, like, he was kind of about to be done.
People make it about race. Tim Tebow, same thing. Johnny Manziel, same thing. They came into the league and they couldn't cut it for whatever reason, not because of their skin color. I mean, my God, Adrian Peterson beat a child with switches, and they had to, he had to go away for a little bit, and they brought him back and they embraced him wholly with child abuse. Jesus. These are people that do human trafficking around the Super Bowl is like a business, not because all the rich people are coming in town. No, it's all the heads of the NFL that want that in their city.
Jesus. This is
and it's like, I know we're kind of going all over the place, but I want to be very clear about this. We do not need these people telling us. They have no ground to stand on, and we need to stop listening to this bullshit that's being promoted by our media and our DC politicians, for whom we all know don't give a shit about us, but somehow they do on this particular issue that they can benefit from.
Right.
And Kaepernick, it's the ultimate perversion of justice and humanity. He's taking a check from a company that has factories in China that use slave labor.
So much slave labor. Oh my God. It's like
also
Nike,
that we can
Apple.
have our Jordans.
Yeah.
Our kids can have our Jordans. And he says, what is he saying about it? Nothing.
It's so hypocritical, right? It's like, if we're going to believe that, like, BLM is the fact that slavery never finished, but it's like Nike, everything they make is with slavery.
No, what needs to be told very clearly, Michael Rupert did this in Los Angeles in 1996 on C-SPAN in an unscripted moment. He got up there, he was former FBI, CIA, and they wanted him to go into the neighborhoods and start pumping cocaine into African-American communities. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's your systemic racism, where they go in, because most people don't know this. African Americans, in spite of Jim Crow laws, after the Reconstruction, after World War II, where there was still, enormous disparity in racism and killings going on, they had a tighter family unit. More than 2/3 of them had their whole mother and father together, and they made more money than they do today per capita wise. Why? Because they had trade skills. Wow. They were the blacksmith, the farmer. They could create their own wealth through their work and their hands. And look at what we've done. We have broken up the African American family, not us. The system of the people running the show behind the curtain, while the politicians come in and message to them. This is what Malcolm X was talking about, them white liberals coming in being your friend.
The Democrats.
But what he was saying was even a bigger thing, is that this is what they're really doing to you all, while one hand's doing this, the other one's doing this. So they come in and they break up the families. They put crime in. Then they do the war on drugs. Then they give you the crime bill, and then they incarcerate these kids right after they gave them gangster rap. So all of these fatherless kids grow up, and they have no families, and they got to go find their own families. Then Hollywood comes out with gangster rap to just amplify it. And then they come in with the crime bill, and then they incarcerate them. Then they
make it look
cool.
Yeah, they make it look so cool. They drop the drugs into their neighborhoods.
And then they bring Planned Parenthood 2 to 3 times as much as they do in any other neighborhood. Why? because they abort 900 black babies every single day as a business. And what is that going to do? And then they give them welfare. Now, the compassionate part is that, yes, we want to help people, but this is enslaving them. This is not empowerment. Yeah. This is not black empowerment. This is where you have children that 71% of them without fathers end up quitting high school. They are done.
Wow.
In our system. They are going to end up in jail, or they're going to end up low wage, or they're going to end up in crime. Whatever it is, it's not going to be good outcomes because they don't have opportunity. There's nobody going in and educating them, giving them love and care that they need. These kids desperately need that in the system. The system fails them, but not because of white people who don't have power. This is the 1/10 of 1% who run the whole damn thing, and they have us fighting against each other and yelling it against each other, and we're completely powerless to do anything except we've got to buy the orthodoxy and go right into voting for them again, so that this time it'll be different. I know it will, because they spoke to me and they told me that it would, and they supported my movement.
Yeah. Right. I mean, who can argue with the phrase itself, Black Lives Matter? I mean, it's very clever.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
And nobody does. And I've talked to more black people that said, I hate and I see the bullshit in all of this. This is people out here. I'm telling you, it's like another world out here. I've got a gun store right up the street here. Got old ex-white cops that run it. Wonderful people. Young black boys coming in, talking to each other like they're friends, first name basis, because they all know the shit that's going on. Mm-hmm. They're like, fuck, dude, we got to load up.
Yeah. We don't know what's coming. Yeah, it's scary. It's like somebody
I get really passionate. I'm like, nah.
Of course, God, and you're so knowledgeable, John. And I just think, like, yeah, this is a lot for people watching this who are brand new, who have never seen the Out of Shadows documentary, which is about the guy who was a stunt double in Hollywood for 20 years, and talking about like all the pedophilia shit he saw. If you've never seen like this is what I did over my lockdown, the Fall Cabal series on YouTube. And I think they may have pulled it from YouTube. It's very hard to find. Both of these things, very hard to find.
And Band Video have versions of it, or it's been re-uploaded to BitChute.
So Out of Shadows, Fall Cabal, and it's
Pedowood, I think it's Pedogate or Pedowood 2020.
Yeah.
There's also the testimonies of Ronald Bernard at the International Tribunal of Justice from 2018. It was in that link I gave you for Red Pilling, Awakening, and Healing. Maybe, I don't know, whatever you want to do to give your audience this.
I can put it in the notes.
Yeah. It's got a list of things. Anake Lucas's testimony is in there. Ronald Bernard's testimony is in there. Jay Parker's testimony. These are three people I know. There's also Christy Allen, who's talking, not Christy Allen in the actress, but talking about satanic ritual abuse, MK Ultra. MK Ultra, for the people that don't know what this is like a dissociative disorder. It's creating fractures of the mind in the child, where they create alternate personas, or they call them alters. And in the highest order of these families, they value their children on a very different level. If they can disassociate more than another child, it's like they're more valuable.
It's like if you're more creative, then that means you have a higher ability to personality fracture, right? Like I think this is what happened with.
It comes with like a high intellect and
Britney Spears. Yeah. I think it's happened to Gaga, Katy Perry for sure.
No, all of them. MK Ultra is a program that they've used over and over and over again in Hollywood. This has all been run by the CIA, military intelligence. People can look. People who want to dive into it. Jay Dyer is a fantastic resource. He wrote a book called Hollywood Esoteric, and I mean it's not as sexy, but he really shows you, like, in all of the movies, the predictive programming. He talks about it over decades. I mean, we're talking about like going back several decades. It was already there. They've been sewing this into Hollywood in our movies and everything. And it's not that the art isn't there too. That's what makes it so amazing, because it's entertainment. But if anybody wants to look at a recent example, I would strongly recommend Westworld Season 1.
I loved Westworld. Oh my gosh. What a great show.
Right, but it's all there. The AI, the cloning, the Zorro Ranch, Jeffrey Epstein, the child abuse, the raping, the dissociative disorder, the MK Ultra programming, because they wipe their memories and then they come back. And they're ready to get raped or killed or whatever abuse that they're going to deal with. The elite who come down, and then they have underground tunnels, underground areas where they just throw
Oh
the
my
dead bodies
God.
down.
I
And
never thought
I
of
mean,
it.
it's just like you start putting all this stuff together and you're like, am I crazy? No, but you can see it everywhere. And what they do, this is what the Luciferians are very smart. They give you honest disclosure with
Put it right out
real
there.
archetypes and themes that you relate to emotionally, which get you drawn in. And if it's done really well, you'll like, oh my God, I love that. I love it too. But what they always do, and the other part too, in the predictive programming part, is the search for consciousness, the maze, right? We find out what the maze is. It's the journey inward.
Spoiler alert.
Right. But I mean, to see
I haven't
it,
watched it by now,
right. Yeah, I was been out for 4 or 5 years, but you see all of it through a new light. And then what they do is they close the loop and they make it godless. And so management, remember they're changing out management, and what Anthony Hopkins is the creator, and he got rid
dies.
And he dies, and he got rid of the other partner who gave the host consciousness,
Arnold,
to have self-actualization, and a voice within themselves, their eternal spirit,
that they had to listen to,
that they had to listen to liberate them, so that they could become something divine. And so what they do is they lead you in that direction, but then they always take God out of the equation, and that's designed so that you never really think any greater, other than that you just saw a really great series and it was amazing, and you tell your friends about it and they all watch it. And then what do they conclude at the end? That once you figure out what's actually been going on, like we are right now, what's the result? Self-actualization doesn't become a loving being and creative. It becomes
vengeful. You're
vengeful,
like, right, because you've been abused and you want to get your revenge.
Right.
Yeah, you want. How do I take it back?
To kill all of those who have harmed you.
Which is not love. Which is not approaching your hardships with love or acceptance or forgiveness. It's now it's our turn. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what they say in it. They actually say we are the one, and they use all of the things like, this is our divine, like, in other words, this is our place. We're taking it back.
Yeah.
All of and they close the loop about consciousness is all in the mind. It has nothing to do with the divine spirit. And this is not about religion, guys. I mean, I'm saying this to your audience. This is not about Christianity or Judaism or this, that, or the other. This is about you are either something or you are nothing. And let me just tell you one side of the equation to this, the side we've been talking about for this last few hour or so. They don't view you as anything. They view you as something to suck the life out of, use and destroy and discard it. And they do it to children.
A means to an end. Yeah.
That's one side of the equation. And I looked at mythology. It's all there in Star Wars in the original trilogy. From the first one to the last one. Now there's a lot of stuff in between, but again, these are not like, Star Wars is not the story, it's the concepts sewn into the story about the Force, about when Yoda's talking to him about the it's all around us, it binds us together. This is all true. This is all true. This is not like, they make it science fiction in a galaxy far, far away, but it's actually right here. It's all true. And then when he talks about the dark side and the light side is there to defend. But if he says, if you go down the path of the dark side with aggression, fear, anger, you will become the very thing that you are fighting, essentially. And it's all been there. This mystery of, it's a bigger picture than the one that's projected onto us. And I truly feel that, the fact that we're having this conversation, not because of me, but because we're even talking about this now, means that collectively in our consciousness is changing. It's starting to see through the illusion in different ways and Donald Trump, I don't care what you think about the guy, he blew a hole through reality. It was a disruption, a necessary disruption in the most objective sense to make everybody pay attention for once. And then he becomes the mirror.
Yep.
He is the mirror of whatever you see, it reflects back to you. And so this is our cognitive dissonance, where everything we project onto Donald Trump, we're really saying about ourselves.
Right, because you don't know him personally.
You don't know him personally, and you've got the media telling you one side of the equation. And for anybody, and I've watched this guy for 3.5 years, because let me just say, I was terrified when he was elected. Terrified. And I had a plan to leave the country. Not because I was Hillary Clinton. I knew she was terrible, and I knew she was going to have to rig the election because they rigged it during the primary with Bernie Sanders. She didn't win. She didn't win shit. She had maybe 30% of the vote. I did the math. I will be happy to give that information. Anybody who wants to see that. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. And she didn't win the popular vote either. This is okay. And
that's the thing that everyone hangs their hat on.
They hang their hat on. Yeah. Why? Okay, forget why she won the popular vote. You know, the rigging of the ballots, this, that, and the other. Anybody can go to the New York Times or the Washington Post after the election when they were all trying to, say why Trump won and blah, blah, blah. And then they were doing their analysis. Okay. After election, month after election, somewhere in the New York Times, Washington Post, they said 20% of Obama supporters didn't vote for Clinton. So they either voted for Trump or they stayed home or voted third party. It's, okay, 20%. She got, I'm just rounding off numbers, she got 65 million votes. Obama got 65 million votes in 2020. Okay? So if 20% of those votes were going to Trump or somebody else or not at home, that's 13.5 million votes. Where, among what groups did Hillary Clinton increase turnout in order to be able to make up that gap? And if you look at Trump on the side of the equation, just math, he had a higher percentage of Latinos. He had a higher percentage of blacks. He had a higher percentage of Asian. He had a higher percentage of women.
Wow.
In all demographics over Romney. So again, my question is, where was the surge in the turnout in proportionate to give her that three? Because again, if she got 13.5 million and he had a higher percentage of these, his numbers would have to be higher too.
Right.
Because you can't just weigh one side of the equation. So I looked at all that and I said, there's something wrong with this. And I just started listening to other people because I'm going, how can this person see what I don't see? How can this person see what, and it didn't mean that I had to like Trump. Like as a person, his persona, what the media projects, how he projects, what he does, it's like how I feel about somebody. Again, this goes back to cult of personality, how I felt about Obama, how I felt about
him. I couldn't believe it the other day. My dad was like, oh, I don't like how he conducts himself. I'm like, aren't you 70-something years old? Aren't you supposed to be like a little bit smarter and wiser at this point? I couldn't believe like what a surfacey review of somebody that we've been supposed to be observing for the last 3.5 years. Yeah.
I know. And the thing is, we've all been conditioned. And when we look at like, we're talking about millennials earlier, you're a millennial, for the older folks that maybe I'm 40, I'll be 42 this year. Okay. And so I had a little bit of the analog world, right? I had my pager, underneath my hat in school. Okay. So we don't realize sometimes that we're all coming from different realities. Our lived experience is a version of a reality which we occupy with other people who have different realities. The world is 7.8 billion people living totally different realities day to day, as unique as the next snowflake that drops out of the sky, or the thumbprint, or whatever you want to measure it at. So we all come from these unique backgrounds. These kids, though, in the 20 to 30-year-old, 35-year-old range, have grown up with 9/11 as the marker of their childhood. From 9/11 to now, and all that has happened, it's been a roller coaster. No wonder they hate capitalism, because it's been predatory and it's decimated their families twice, multi-generationally, from grandparent to parent to them. I met kids who had it made in 2008 and they were sleeping in a car in 2009.
Wow.
The parents lost everything, and it turned their life upside down. This is not because of capitalism. What we're doing right now, and the people still listening to this show, if you've hung
If
around
you've
with us,
gone for a snack and come back, it's okay.
it's okay. You know,
I
pause
had
it.
to
This is what
pee.
podcasting is all
I had
about,
to
right?
pee while I was sitting here. Nobody
Okay, you
know.
know,
No, I'm
hey,
kidding. No,
you
don't
know,
even.
we got our wine. You know,
I
it's all
wish.
good. We're humans, but the thing is like we don't realize that all that has happened to us, and we're seeing that this predatory system has come after us, and one side of the equation is demonized capitalism. So in other words, they create the conditions for these crashes. If you look into the central banking system, the Federal Reserve, it's neither federal nor is it anything to do with G. Edward Griffin, the Creature of Jekyll Island. You can look it up. It'll tell you everything. All our wars, all our financial collapses have all been by design to
Wait, how do you
destroy
spell
the
that?
American family.
How do you spell that?
And more importantly,
What's it called? Creature?
the
What's it
Creature
called?
from Jekyll Island.
Okay.
It is the true conspiracy story that set this country on a course. I mean, it was heading in that direction, but this one, from before World War II to now, I mean, the financial decimation of our country is all because of these people, and they're a private corporation, and they issue money out of thin air, and then they create debt that we all pay interest on, and that interest goes up to $500 billion a year, and it goes outside of the country to pay foreign nationals and other countries and other
All
governments.
because somebody wanted to take a trip to Italy that they couldn't afford. That's me. I'm talking about myself. I'm still paying it off. Went to Italy in 2013.
You're to blame. You and your credit cards. No, these people, what they do is when the government goes to get funding for something, they issue that billion or $80 billion or whatever the cost is going to be, and those are our taxpayer dollars. No, we're paying for it, but not through our taxpayer dollars.
Right, because none of our taxpayer dollars none of the taxes go into the Fed, right?
Right. No, the taxation part is totally, I mean, there's merit to some of it, but if you added up all your taxes, most of it's a scam. So anyway, that's a tangent, but what I wanted to get at is like, when you step back and look at what we're doing right here is capitalism. Okay. It's a form of capitalism. We're exchanging information that people are listening to with their time and their ears, because it's perceived as valuable. There's a value, there's a merit, there's something I'm learning, there's something intrinsic to this that I need, and it's solving a problem, or it's answering questions, or whatever the hell it is. But that's what it is. That's real capitalism. And that's not what we've had in this country. We've had predatory vulture capitalism sucking more money away and outside of the system, which needs us to be able to make it work. But these people don't care about that.
And
again,
implanting us with messages, to suit their needs, and cutting
and it's
down
all
on
in the
original
belief
thought.
of the system. It's all in the belief of it that makes it work, because those dollars there's no value backing those dollars. There's only debt. There's only debt. I worked in the banking industry for 14 years, and I learned a lot of things, and it's just like, it's an upside down world. Most people don't even, let's just look at this fact. I want you to make your point, but
I don't know if I have a point.
let's take a step back and look at education. Where in our course of education do we learn about money?
Never.
Where it's created, where it comes from, how to
value it,
how to make it grow. Like the rich know this. Everybody thinks it's a paycheck. No, rich people tell you tax us. Why? Because they don't get a paycheck. So you vote to have them tax wealthy people, which are basically the millionaires below them, thinking that, this class warfare thing is good for us. And these billionaires are not paying a dime on any of it, because they have capital gains and passive income, which they can write off, plus all their other offshores. So it's an upside down world. It's like the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. But here's the other side of it. This is the crazier part. They don't want you knowing about how money is made, where it comes from, how you earn it, how you create wealth. What they want you to do when you go to college is learn economics so you can serve the system that they manage.
Right. Not start fit into the stream, not like swim with the other fishes. Don't Find a
Right.
new
They'll throw
ocean.
money at you for making them money. It's pennies on the dollar for them. It's cost of doing business. They'll gladly pay $100 million fine after it's gone through all the legalities of over years in court for having, poisoned us or done something horrible to us. But by
Yeah,
then
do you
they
know that we
have
can't
billions.
sue for vaccines that are shitty and poisonous? And
And they're trying to come out now with the vaccinations to
yep.
give them total legal immunity. This is not Donald Trump. What most people have not learned yet, and I'm not defending this guy, but most people don't know how our government is supposed to work and how it has worked. And if you know how it's supposed to work and how it has worked, then you'd see that this guy is doing everything he can through federalism,
Yeah.
as opposed to a strong national government, for which the other side of the equation wants you to believe in is the solution to the problem when they've created and enabled the predatory system. So what they do is they create the problem, suck all the money out of that model, right? It doesn't matter whether it's capitalism, socialism, communism, but in this case, it's capitalism. So everybody hates capitalism. We want this shit to be over with. And what do? Come over here. We'll do Medicare for all. Come over here. We'll do free education.
Free college.
But we're not looking at how they're going to implement it and what they're going to do. And nobody who has the bully pulpit is saying Medicare for all, if you actually go down that hole, for which I have because my dad died this past year and I watched what they did with Medicare for all, is when he wasn't treatable anymore because the cancer had spread so much, which means he can't go on the chemo, he can't go on the radiation. Medicare denied his claims for hospice.
Holy shit.
He paid into that his whole life, as have tens of millions of other Americans. So what happens when you do these kinds of things, you create bureaucracies under the guise of compassion, but the people running them are running them for profit.
Too much government.
As much money out of the system as possible to enrich their pockets, and the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical industries, who are all preying down on these people that if you can't fit in their bucket, sorry, tough shit, you're done. And I had to get on the phone and I had to call 12 different hospice places to try to find some place to land this guy so he could have some dignity to die with.
Wow.
And one lady heard my plea and she got me into a good place. I still had to cash out all of his money. This is the thing you don't know. If you don't qualify, you have to spend, they call it a spend down. You have to spend all of your money out until you're down to $3,000 left, until you're in poverty. And you have to send all of that money with your Medicare and Medicaid. You have to send all of that money to the hospital before Medicaid will kick in.
Because you have to prove that you're like broke enough to need it.
Yes.
Basically.
They make you poor throughout your whole life, and something you've paid into, they're going to take, even if you have Social Security. Social Security counts as your income. So they will take your Social Security from you as well. It is, I feel bad for the people following the Marxists that are leading them down a path of tyranny, because they believe that they're the true believers. They're going to right the wrongs through the government, and the government is just going to use it. It is a playbook throughout all of history, Russian Revolution 101. That's exactly what they did. And once the people got back into power, the true believers started noticing that this thing wasn't working, and they killed them all.
Wow. Right. Because people who say, oh, we want socialism, it's like you're not looking at how people in China live. They're like, you know what I mean? They're on top of each other, like 6 people in a studio apartment. Like they're not seeing
there's
how.
That, and then there's the government. What communism and socialism does in its historic expression, and it would be the same with people in power. You know, people who command wealth and who are controlled are telling you, you know, Elizabeth Warren, you know, and she's really up there, and she's grandma because she's just yelling and,
I'm
you know,
a woman.
pitching a damn fit. Okay. Again, that's the person she plays on television, a politician in costume. But the way this really plays out is this. What they'll do is they will give you all of it, and you'll champion the right. And then what they're really starting to begin to do, as they've done in China, is as we already have here now, they've broken up the family unit. They then come in for the culture, which they've done already, and they're going to promote people on the right were right about this. They said promoting Sharia law, and they're really, oh, that's racist. No, it's not. Look at who these people are. Ayman of Peace. Go to him and David Rubin. He talked about it 2 years ago for an hour and a half, and he said, no, these radical Islamists are not your friend. And these identity politic people who say, you know, Muslims and, you know, like Bernie Sanders get up to, he's totally disingenuous of the fact that he's playing on those fears and not being able to go, wait a minute, hold on a second. This is not cool. What they are doing and what they do to their women is not cool. And you are telling me I've got to be tolerant of that hijab, which is oppressive in the face of, it's an upside down world. But worse than that, they will destroy culture, the social cohesion of society under diversity, tolerance, empowerment.
Can't be called a racist.
And then what happens in the final is they destroy your morale. They demoralize you. If you look at anything that they're doing right now with this whole COVID-19 is to demoralize you. And what the next steps are to demoralize you further is that they will create false flag operations in order for you to comply through your fear because you don't want to end up like those people. So in China, now they're just going in and bulldozing churches, Christian churches.
Wow.
So what communism ultimately does, because it's collectivism, not in the way that we see it, but collectivism in the way that the masters want it, greater control, a tighter hierarchy, right? To dominate the population.
It's not the equality that you think is going to happen. It's equality in a way that the people in charge have planned. Not the hippy dippy, we're all holding hands.
No.
Equality. It's equality in the fucking worst way.
This is totalitarian control through a police state to make you comply while giving you, you know, technology and basically take you and strip you of your humanity completely. Just look at China. China is one of the most powerful nations in all the world because they have a workforce and resources that are just like they could build anything. But the way that they have done that is they've destroyed the identity of their people over 40 years, just took them from poverty, lifted people out of poverty, industrialized the nation, but they took out all of the features of their identity, just killing them. Killing the ones, they have dungeons. This is known in China. They have a dungeon there. It's called the prison system, but it's a dungeon for 500,000 people every year who they go and they take their blood type and they put them in jail and they let them sit there and they've got 5 deep of this type of blood for when there's an organ donor that's needed. They'll just go, take them, cut their organs out, kill them, put it on the black market, goes to it. Oh, this has all been well documented. This is the stuff you don't hear in mainstream news. But here's the thing. If that organ doesn't take, they go to the next one on the bench.
Right. Isn't that what they're using the Uyghur people for in China?
Yeah. The Uyghurs. This is, I think now has grown to about 1 million. They have them in indoctrination camps. They're taking their wives and they're starting to rape them so they can start a new bloodline. This is all happening in China under the approval of the communist Chinese regime. Jesus. This is sanctioned slavery,
Holocaust, basically,
and concentration camps.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some videos that had leaked out of them just beating the shit out of these people into a corner. And, you know, at a certain point, it's like a dog. You just
lose your spirit.
Because what can they do? There's no way out. We don't want to end up like China. China and America can do fine. And it's not the Chinese people that are the problem, nor is it it's like in India and Pakistan. It's the governments. They're so damn corrupt. And we just have to go, what could our leadership be in this world if they were unencumbered in a real way that, like, to serve humanity?
Yeah.
We have to get out of this headspace that it's all focused on a single leader. Locally, human trafficking of kids, you need to know who your sheriff is. You get to know your sheriff. Sheriff's probably one of the most accessible, should be one of the most accessible people that you should know. You should know where they stand on that issue, what they're doing, what training they're bringing in. They're the people that enforce the law and hire all of those people and train them and manage them. You should go to your local city council and say, what are you all doing to make sure that drugs don't pour into our communities? How are you making things safer? Let's work on a plan. Have you considered these ideas? This is the kind of stuff we want to make this a safe neighborhood for our kids. We want to make sure that we don't have people driving in from out of town and grabbing our kids at a playground or in the mall and taking off with them.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this is the one thing, the one feature of our time, and I live in a very decent area. I asked a cop about a week and a half ago about the things that he sees out here. And I was asking him, what are the main problems? This is a nice area out here, nice people. He said, domestic violence is everywhere. Human trafficking is not out here yet, thank God. But he said child abuse is everywhere.
Whoa.
Everywhere. And it doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, from neglect to beatings to cutting, torture, sexual abuse. It's everywhere. And if we're going to change this world and all the problems that we could talk about all day, we have to start in our families and our homes to get ourselves and have these conversations, as uncomfortable as they may be. If you're not able to be, if you're not there yet with your mother or father, you have to do the work yourself. When I was talking about all the things that I'd learned, EFT, emotion freedom technique, matrix.
Oh yeah, tapping.
Tapping, exactly. There are many, many practitioners now across all the whole country, and you can do it even remotely, and you can do it on yourself. Learn about Alice Miller, Drama of the Gifted Child, For Your Own Good, Body Never Lies. Those 3 books are transformational in terms of our awakening, because what you will learn when you go within yourself, this is not just about meditation and chi and woo-woo, okay? There's more to it. When you go within yourself and you start dealing with these things, you're going to cry quite a bit at an appropriate time. But there are tears that are necessary so that you can begin to love yourself and have less fear in your heart and mind. This is the calling that we have to have in our world. This is not a battle that we can fight by destroying it. There is going to be destructive forces that are going to be in front of us, and some of them might be even very tempting to do. But it's all about creation. Creation is far more cooperative. It's far more, it's infectious.
Yeah, it's more,
because that's
it has
what we're
more
born
energy,
as.
energy behind it. It's like, yeah, you're either creating or destroying, right? And like, yeah.
And most of us, what we do to ourselves, and when you learn about Alice Miller, is she lays it out. There's the 12 points on the roots of violence. And one of them talks about what we do, what the child does as we get older, is we banish that knowledge from long ago. And we begin to hurt ourselves through addictions, through mutilation or depression and fear and anxiety. I mean, it all builds and builds and builds, and it's expressed in a variety of ways. The ones, though, that have it most severe, the beatings on a higher frequency, more intense, they're the ones that commit murder.
Wow.
And they're the ones that beat people up. And we're going to, unfortunately, I just know too much, but I see how everything's playing out, not just from before, but where it's headed. We're going to have that in front of us on TV. There will be bloodshed in America this year. And that's because of the deep state fighting Donald Trump.
I mean, what do you mean? More so than just watching these videos of like riots, protesters, people fighting in the street? So
all of this has been manufactured, and yet it's also been baked into the cake. Okay. So when we talk about this whole child abuse system, when we've talked about Luciferianism and Satanism and pedophiles running our institutions and sowing that crap into the world, and then we talk about child abuse, this is like the portal for which all of this satanic shit comes in. So what happens is that you don't start down that path and then stop. You have to follow it to its logical conclusion. So when we're not going to rehash the whole last summer, but when Black Lives Matter started, it was mostly peaceful. Anger, but peaceful. But then when you have
hijacked by Soros.
Right. So what happens is you have the Marxists doing this is how an operation works. It's not all together in one room. This group is doing their part, that group's doing this part, and in concert with each other, they're all serving a playbook that is very, very old. They've done it throughout all of history. These people created war. Okay, they've created wars, not just by like, okay, we're going to go over there with our tanks. No, they create warfare to create the jihad, to create the crisis for where we have the refugee crisis. And now we got to bring those people over, right? Because it's a compassionate thing to do. But what they've done is they've gone over there in the Middle East. Everything that they did in the Middle East, they're doing here now. So that in the last 20 years in the Middle East, you could say, well, it's a war on terror. That was bullshit. No, what they did was they destroyed 5,000 to 6,000 years of history and cultural identity for which there was social cohesion. Yes, there were problems and everything, but you decimate a person's life and blow their reality away, you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
And the worst is going to come out. Because when you're in survival mode and you can't get food, what are you going to do? Well, you say, I would never do that. But if you were there, talk to anybody who's ever said, I'll never do that, and then they go in and they have that happen to them. No, you will beg for food, and you will prostitute yourself, and you will find yourself doing things that you never thought you would have done under any normal circumstances. So when you blow that illusion of reality away and you destroy 5,000 years of culture and you make it into rubble, including their museums and their churches and everything else, now you have a group of people that are desperate at minimum, and you're going to bring them into other countries, and you're just going to dump them there into apartments. They have no job, they have no assimilation, they have no integration into it.
Wow.
And you're just begging for problems to happen. This is not about racism and xenophobia. The racists are the people doing this shit to everybody else who have the power, have the guns, who have the weapons.
Right.
Who have the Wall Street bankers on their side. Those are the people doing this to us, not us doing this. Nobody wants any of this stuff. Even the people that have the problems didn't want that problem to happen to them.
Of course.
So this is what's going to happen. Antifa comes in and they start hitting windows out and breaking down this and knocking down that. It creates energy, negative energy that pulls those people that had a focus on one hand into another thing that is summoning that to come out. So all of the people that were in the black, let's just say there's like 100 of them, 20 may go over there and start looking at this and getting excited about it.
Yeah, that looks therapeutic. I want to break shit. I want free stuff.
And then more come out. And more come out, and then
it's contagious.
Have the governors,
that energy.
And then you have the governors. This is the other feature of it, because this is a war we're in. It is a war here in America right now, not among its citizens, although we're the pawns to make it work. So they're summoning all this energy, this negative energy, this violent energy. And meanwhile, under the guise of COVID, you have Gavin Newsom and other governors releasing prisoners. They're releasing them from the most brutal places. Now, I want to let me just take at 100% face value your compassion, saying, there was COVID going on, and, these people, they really served long prisons, and all of that could be.
Yeah, but it's like, we didn't release the people in the nursing homes out in the wild. We kept people from visiting them, right? We should have done that with the jails.
Right. So you put these people, now I'm going to say, let's just say all of these people that they released from prison were decent people, and they were qualified to get out. You released people in an economic shutdown who have a set of clothes
Yeah.
and a debit card and a bus pass. What are they going to do? And what's the number one issue about prisoners? Recidivism,
Right.
which is going back into jail because the opportunities aren't there. They recommit crimes because that's what they know. So we're not training these people. We're just dumping them out and saying, good luck.
It's insane.
And then they're not even arresting them. This happened to a friend of mine in LA. She had a felony that was being committed during COVID-19 in one of her properties that she owned. And the officer said, I'm sorry, ma'am, we've been given orders not to arrest anybody.
They throw
And
their
if we
hands
do,
up.
we have to let them go. This was before BLM and George Floyd. So what did that tell everybody for a month who was out of prison? You could go on a crime spree and not get caught, and we would let you go. So then these people, you found out there were a couple of stories where these people had committed several felonies during that time, and a couple of people killed other people that should have been in prison.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just kind of giving you the trajectories here. So we've got that. We've got these anarchists in Portland, Seattle, other parts of the country trying to spring up where there aren't any guns. You have people who have given up their gun rights, and now they're defunding the police. This is the perfect storm for chaos about to come to America. And it's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's going to happen because, again, I saw this when I was with the Bernie Sanders people in 2016. This was not the same group in 2020, 2019. It was just not. And I saw a couple of these violent people because they were really angry. They weren't violent yet, but they were just angry. They were looking at everybody who was like, oh, Sanders, and he got cheated, but we really need it. And they were like, no. You know, they were insistent.
They wanted to fight.
You know, that this was wrong and something had to be done about it. And let me just tell you, in 4 years, it hasn't abated. It's only grown stronger. So these people are going to, whether you put Soros in the equation or not, but it is being funded outside groups. What they're doing is they're stroking the flames. And now you have Biden a couple months ago coming out and talking about how we're going to have to remove Trump by force. Ugh. You know, we're going to have the military remove him. They're signaling to their base all of this insanity because even though they hate Biden, they hate Trump more. Or they hate both of them equally, but they're still listening, right? They're still listening to the people that they hate because they're like, fuck it, man. That's it. We're taking over the thing. And then they've got politicians in place, like in Seattle and Portland, who will welcome them in to Chaz. And to, you know, it's a socialist mayor and a socialist governor. And these are, they're either paid or they believe or both. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that they're defunding the police in Los Angeles right now. They're doing it in the schools. They're doing it under the people of, you know, communities of color. The same mayor who made you believe that he was going to fight poverty and give you a tax, which you paid for, so they could raise up $3 billion to build these 10,000 homes for the homeless people, not dealing with the mental health crisis. And 3 years later, there hasn't been a damn bit of ground broken on that. Wow. But this time it's different. He's going to take that money from the police officers and he's going to put it into communities of color for their benefit. We just know this time, our mayor really cares about it. This time, he didn't do a damn thing about the homeless. Yeah. And we have people on the streets. It's even worse today in Santa Monica than ever before. And they're shooting up and there's needles. This becomes San Francisco. In the 33rd, what was formerly the 33rd district, which was Malibu, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Westwood, West Hollywood, all the way down Santa Monica into Long Beach, in the wealthiest properties, and those places are now having infestations of drugs and homeless people and mental health crises.
Wow.
And it's like, this doesn't happen by accident. It all looks like it does. It all looks organic, but this is the policy that creates this.
But so people just want to blame Trump. Oh, everything is Trump's fault. It's like
Trump's
all this
America, right?
All this craziness that we've seen in the last, well, for people who've been paying attention, but now it's like there's just so much chaos now, and it's Trump. Don't look at your local people at all.
If you look at it from, we don't look backwards, but a lot of times you should. Jussie Smollett, right? Mm-hmm. Jussie Smollett is a gay black man in 2019 who had the privilege of living in a country that he could do a hoax and pay two black men with a check to put a noose on him and say, MAGA country, bitch. If he had gotten away with it, look at where we would be right now. That man would have gone on every talk show. He would have written a book. He would have been giving lectures. He would have sold his album. And he would have been right there, standing there with Bubba Wallace and his noose, like I was noosed too. You see how this goes? This is an operation. The last 4 years have been a dress rehearsal for everything we're about to watch go down these next 2 to 3 months. And it's going to be chaos. Not that, look, most people need to stay the hell out of it. I am not trying to tell America that it's going to fall all apart. I don't think it will. I think there are too many good people out there, but you're going to see nasty stuff going down because they're going to pay people to do it. Even more so than ever before, it was sowing the idea early. See, this is the thing. You don't just do it suddenly with shock and awe. You sow it in.
Like heating up the frog in the water.
To build it up. And then what they'll do is they'll release the prisoners. They'll release the next wave of prisoners. They'll release their mercenaries. This is the other thing now you're seeing. Here we had in Georgia and Stone Mountain. What did they do? They had a militant black army there. And the guy is calling out. He goes, come on, you 3%ers, you rednecks. Come on out here and face me.
What?
And they have guns. And so then they went to Louisville, and they're doing it there. They're stirring it up. They're going all over the country where all of these killings have happened, these racial killings. That's what they always classify them as. And here in Atlanta, what they did was that night that Rashad Brooks was shot, the taser, that same DA 2 weeks ago, it said a taser was a deadly weapon. He charged one of those cops with 10 counts, including one of murder, which would get him the death penalty. And he put 3 charges on the fellow officer so that the officer would be coerced into testifying as a witness for the state against his fellow officer. And you know what happened that night? The moment that came out, 500 to 600 cops walked off, and 58% of them were black, which tells you this had nothing to do with race or a racial attack. The cops all saw the writing on the wall, which was, you either get in line with our policy or you're going to be on the chopping block next. And we're going to turn cop against cop. And they're doing that not because they're fighting the cops. They want them to leave the force so that they can bring in their own types who will toe the line.
Yep. Wow. It's kind of brilliant. It's so evilly brilliant. It's really crazy.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. They're going to try to make a lot of chaos. That's why they're doing the mail-in ballots. So they can do fraud. What they want to do, here's what they want to do. They want to throw the election. They were caught off guard in 2016 because all the fraud and everything that she did wasn't enough to overcome the surge. I tell people this, Donald Trump won in 2016 with 13.5 million Twitter followers. Today he has over 85 million.
Wow.
Joe Biden does a live stream on major channel with a whole bunch, 270 people streamed at the peak. This guy ain't winning shit. And they're going to make it look like he is. They're going to put him ahead in the polls so that all the people that believe in this.
Right. Will be like, we're voting for the right person. Stay with it. It's almost like to get the people in the middle and on the left, be like, we're still making the right choice. We're voting for a winner, Right.
We're voting for a winner. And then on the other side of that equation is when the election results aren't known that night and take 2 to 3 weeks, and they can challenge and they can contest it. And then the states become a toss-up. And then what happens? They send it over to the House of Representatives, which Nancy Pelosi presides over.
Jesus, that's scary.
And she gets to decide who the president is.
Oh, my God.
Yes, it's going to be a battle. I have a feeling, though, that Trump's people are well prepared for this. It's just that there's going to be a human toll that we're going to witness. And what we're going to learn, I think, if we make it through, is we're going to learn that these people were doing all of these things to us for such a very long time, and the finger will be finally pointed at them. The rest will happen. I don't think it's a mass arrest. I think it's going to be I think it's going to unfold over several years, but I think that the Spygate, the FISA-gate stuff, that there's something about that people have started talking about. We could do a whole show on it. I don't know enough to sit here and go through all the iterations, but I can tell you this. This operation started in 2012, 2013, and it kicked off in 2016 during the election. This was pre-planned that we were going to have a Russiagate hoax for whoever became president next. If Trump had lost, or whoever the Republican was, they were going to make it look like he had been colluding with Russia to try to overthrow the United States government. And all of those sealed indictments that everybody's been running around talking about at the beginning, they thought, oh, this is all the deep state. No, it wasn't. Most of those sealed indictments, not all of them, but most of them were targeting innocent Americans who had been entrapped, like Trump had, that they'd been spying on. They had entrapped innocent Americans in an espionage like they did with George Papadopoulos and Carter Page. They were doing their job, not unaware that they were being used to set somebody up so that they could get all this evidence, create a fake dossier, and have connecting points to the story that the media would tell the American people for the next several years. So they were going to round up tens of thousands of innocent Americans to fall for their crimes, to create this big Russiagate thing so that we would go to war through Syria, and we would also go to war through North Korea. We would start World War III and kick it off. And meanwhile, 100 million Americans would die through the pandemic and the nuclear war that we would have. Jesus. That's what Americans will find out one day, and they will know all the details of it, because that's exactly what this time is. And Trump, I mean, flaws and all, if the majority of Americans knew what was really going on, like truly knew the whole story of everything that's going on, it's more than I'm talking about.
Everybody would have a MAGA hat.
They would have a MAGA hat, and people would be freaking out too, though. There would be no confidence in anything. Like, what do you mean? All of this military operation behind the scenes, these people, look, we have a lot of work to do in this country, a lot of work to do in this world, but we have got to get through this time. And we cannot solve our problems through violence and condemnation and judgment. There is going to be a time and a place, and you call it the law, and you let the law handle those people. But for all of our friends and neighbors, including those who are pussy hats and everything, they have all been misled. They've all been misled. And it's not their fault, because they've believed in the good. And because it's like, it's, again, if you're aware of what was going on and you didn't, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm like Owen Wilson at the end of Wedding Crashers. I'm going, I'm not saying you have to marry me like Trump. Just don't marry him.
Yeah.
You just don't go with him. He's an asshole. He's the Bradley Cooper character. He's a bad dude, and just give it a chance. Because it's true. The majority of people are good people, and they want good things for themselves, and they're not interested in all of this crap. We're all tired of it, but we're tired of it whether we're on this side of the equation or that side. We want it to be over.
Right.
And we're going to have to use our imaginations and our creativity to be able to create a new future, the new story, the human story that we have yet to live. That's the real time that we're in. It's the human story that you and I have yet to fulfill and live. And it is totally possible. It is totally possible.
Well, that's good, John. It's possible. All right, good. I feel like that was a lot of hope, a lot of information. This is by far the longest podcast I've ever done. I might have to split this up into a two-parter. I don't know. Or I could just let it rip like Tommy G just released like a 3-hour episode.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not telling you how to do your podcast, but I did a 3-hour one with this guy, David Whitehead, and I didn't even know it was 3 hours.
Oh yeah. The time flies. I mean, you can talk, which is great.
Yeah. But people listened.
Oh, good. I guess we'll have to just wait and see.
Do whatever you want. If you want to split it up in 2 or 3 parts, great. I'm super down. Whatever you want to do. I'm all for the people and what they want. And you know your audience better than I do. And I just hope that whatever we discussed today was was helpful for them and made them think just a little bit more critically about the kind of world they want to live in.
That's all I want. Just just analyze everything around you. And like it's okay to question stuff that you've long taken for granted. John, where can people find you? Where can they follow you on social media? Where can they check out some of your other films that haven't been taken down yet?
Yeah. So if you want to follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter is No Restrictions. So at No Restrictions on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to learn about my work, I post it all on social media. The link, it's to our website, it's to our films, but our website is No Restrictions Entertainment. It's No Restrictions ENT, but if you Google it, it'll come up. If you go to social media, it's in my bio. That link is there. And A Child's Voice is the movie that we did on human trafficking. It was dealing with the satanic pedophiles who run these networks all over the globe. But it is a message of love, and it's about helping the children. That movie has a beautiful road to redemption through love. And here's what I say to people. Look, Amazon took us down. I don't care. What I care about is this. If you watch our movies and you like them, share them everywhere. Share them with people. I don't even mind. It's not about the money. Share the video under your account with somebody else.
Bootleg it on the subway.
Well, I hope people do things legally. I can't control that. I'm not here to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. All I'm saying is the message of love is in that film, and it can help awaken many people. I'm a Hollywood producer. I've been there for 20 years. I saw a lot of stuff. I want a better world. I want truthful art. I want art that gives us a diversity of ideas. I want art that inspires us in real and meaningful ways that keep us away from these predators and keep us out of this old system, these old stories. We need the enrichment of your journey that you have lived in your life. Tell me what you've learned, what you struggled with, what you overcame, and in investigating that, what you discovered ultimately, and let the people decide what they want to think about it. We don't need reboots, remakes, prequels, and sequels and imitations anymore. That system is expendable.
Don't need female Ghostbusters. No.
Yeah, it's true. It's like we're just rehashing all these ideas, and they're diluted.
It's not like we've run out of stories. I mean, that's crazy.
No, there's so many other stories out there to tell. There's the story of you. The story of your life is very interesting, as it is to the next person. And that's the stories we need to start telling to each other, speaking out, being authentic. If you want to cut through fake news and bullshit and lies, be authentic. Be your authentic self and say what you feel. Just get out there and start talking. That's the thing we need to do. We don't need to be listening to all of these other maddening people telling us where we need to go and what we need to do. We need to start listening and getting close to each other, get close to nature, come back together and have some sanity in this world. And I'm going to do my part in film. I've got another movie. If you guys like to support independent films, I do want to say this. There is a new movie that we're doing called Game Day. And that's about family and rivalry in the family. It's about football, family, and family rivalry. And it is a movie that hasn't been done in Hollywood in years. It's going to be funny. It's an Italian-American family who's Philadelphia Eagles football fans, and they gather together for their hated rival of Dallas. And it's all about the honest expression of family, where each quarter that goes by in the game, the family explodes. And all the truths start coming out.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it's got a real tender, beautiful thing about truth. And when you really do care for somebody, you're not trying to hurt them and tell them that you messed up my life, but you're saying, no, go live the life you need to live and let me take care of our child. And it's just, I've never come across a movie that has taught me so much maturity. So we have that on GoFundMe. It's called Game Day Movie on GoFundMe, or you can look me up, John Paul Rice. If you want to chip in $10, $5, whatever. We're trying to raise that money so that we can do the rest of the film. We're putting our own money into our movies. That's what we do, Edgar and I. This is our 7th feature in 11 years. We're completely outside of the Hollywood system. So we're asking people to support us in independent art. If you buy A Child's Voice, that's great. That'll help us because we pay off what we owe, and then we take that money and we put it back. The profits go back into the next one.
Can people still buy A Child's Voice anywhere?
On Vimeo.
On Vimeo. Okay.
Yeah, you can buy it on Vimeo.com or Vimeo on demand, but you just go and search A Child's Voice on Vimeo. You can find it. You can also find it on our website. The
Okay,
Amazon link, I just want to tell your fans, because some people will see this. The Amazon link is still up, but you can't watch it on Amazon. You can't rent it on Amazon. And it's not searchable on Amazon anymore. You can't even find it in the search results. They've totally taken it off. So if you go and get A Child's Voice, that money comes directly to us. It's not going through a distributor, it gets to us. And if you donate to Game Day, that money is going to go to make an independent film. It's a beautiful film. I don't even mind if people want to read the script. I'll send it to them. I'm that adamant about it. I think everybody who's read the script said, my God, there's something great about this film. And I really was moved by it. And I found characters. I just love these characters. So this is it. This is us. No restrictions entertainment. No restrictions on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm John Paul Rice. I love you all. I love the world. I want to do beautiful things. I want to help artists too achieve their dreams. I want to create that studio that I've always wanted to do. And I want to bring the next generation of talent into the world, tell truthful art stories that everybody can get behind and enjoy.
And support redheaded comedians.
That's right.
Maybe that have had their whole headlining tour canceled at the beginning of March. I'm not going to name any names. John, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I'll definitely have you back. Okay, I'm going to do a quick ad read. Hold on. Hey, everybody. Really excited to announce the show's brand new sponsor, Silk City Hot Sauce. Head over to silkcityhotsauce.com. That's SILKSITY. Use the promo code CMP and you'll get 15% off your order. These guys are great. Jeff and Enid, they really know their stuff. They run the company all by themselves. If we want to help out the economy, we can start with small businesses who really care about their product and their customers. So go to silkcityhotsauce.com and order some. And guess what? If you use the promo code CMP, not only will you get 15% off your order, they will actually throw in a free bottle of cherry sriracha and some cool stickers. So use the promo code CMP, Silk City Hot Sauce. I should have done that at the beginning, but whatever. I'll just edit it. Woo! We did it. Thanks, John.
Hey, thank you. I know I was a little chatty there at some of those times, but
no, you're the best. All right, hold on. I'm going to stop recording. Bye.